digital and cyber violence, and harmful cultural practices such as forced and child marriage, female genital mutilation, and widow disinheritance. The problem of the growing prevalence of online and technology-enabled gender-based violence, such as cyberstalking, online harassment, and non-consensual distribution of intimate images, digital surveillance, the creation and spread of gender deepfakes and hate speech targeting women and girls came out as an issue of utmost importance during last year's commemoration. These forms of violence are especially prevalent against women in public life, politicians, journalists, and human rights defenders. Further, the economic and emotional abuse commonly experienced in intimate relationships are rarely treated with the same seriousness as physical assault, despite their long-term impact on mental health and autonomy. Mr. Speaker, sir, Kenya has enacted several laws to address GBV, including the Sexual Offences Act, which is Cap 363A, which criminalizes various forms of sexual violence and sets out penalties and protective measures. Then we have the Protection Against Domestic Violence Act, which is Cap 151, which provides for protective orders and redress for survivors of domestic violence, and the Computer Misuse and Cybercrimes Act, or Cap 79C, which has legislated against several forms of technology-facilitated GBV, among others. These efforts by the state demonstrate a clear intention to address GBV. Indeed, the government's commitment to engage in policy, legal, and institutional reforms to address GBV in both the offline and online environments was reiterated by the government in the course of the campaign. This also includes the enforcement of the existing legal frameworks, digital safety, support services to survivors, and interagency collaboration with enforcement agencies, among other measures. Despite these efforts, there are notable gaps in harmonization, implementation, and enforcement of existing laws. Furthermore, there is a lack of comprehensive legal definition and recognition of femicide as a distinct offense. Mr. Speaker, sir, although campaigns are key, they should be coupled with the key actions such as budgetary provisions as well as accountability. Survivors still lack access to justice due to challenges such as fear of stigma, inadequate investigations, slow prosecution, as well as insufficient psychological or legal assistance services, especially at the county level. The devolved system of government places responsibility on county governments to aid in the coordination, prevention, and response to GBV. Despite the political will, the county government interventions have been plagued by systematic and resource challenges. Mr. Speaker, sir, I would like to emphasize that the struggle against GBV does not stop after the 16 days. It requires sustained commitment at the national level, and it should be centered around survivors while looking towards the eradication of the root causes of such violence. These causative factors include harmful social norms as well as the misuse of technology. Even though digital tools such as mobile apps, SMS-based hotlines, and online portals like Spotit have created safe and anonymous channels for survivors to seek help through offering timely reporting and referral to essential services and real-time data collection for policy planning, access disparities in rural areas and among low-income populations must be addressed.
To the relevant committee for consideration pursuant to the provision of Standing Order 145, Senate amendments to bills originating in the National Assembly, and report such fact to the House on resumption. 3, should a bill be published during the said period, or a published bill become due for first reading, the Speaker shall, upon lapse of at least 3 days following the publication of the bill and following a determination that such a bill is of priority, forthwith refer such bill to the relevant committee for consideration pursuant to the provision of Standing Order 127 on committal of bills to committees and public participation, and cause the bill to be read a first time upon its next sitting, and the second reading may be taken forthwith or on such other day as the House Business Committee may determine. 4, should any statutory instrument be transmitted for tabling before the House during the period, the Speaker shall, following a determination that the statutory instrument is of priority, forthwith refer the statutory instrument to the relevant committee for consideration and cause the statutory instrument to be tabled in the House upon its next sitting, in accordance with the provisions of Section 11 of the Statutory Instruments Act, Cap 2A, and 5, should any paper be transmitted for tabling before the House, the Speaker shall, following a determination that the paper is of priority, forthwith refer the paper to the relevant committee for consideration and cause the paper to be tabled in the House upon its next sitting. Honorable Speaker, I beg to move. That's why I said you get prepared. This was a long one, but it's very important because it ensures that there is continuation of work even when we are on recess, such a time like the long recess that we came from. Should there have been any papers that came in or any bills that matured within that time, then they will not have to wait until we resume after the recess, Honorable Speaker. And we are doing the same for this session to be able to make sure that we are within our procedures in consideration of such bills. Honorable Speaker, allow me to request the Vice Chair of the Budget Committee, because he's making a lot of noise behind me with loud consultations, to now second.
Budget or finance?
Budget.
Budget.
Because
Oh, the Vice Chair, yes. Go ahead.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I just wanted to let the majority leader that I was consulting with my neighbor, the Honorable Kakai Pisau, member for Kiminini. So
there are no preambles to seconding a motion.
Just second the motion. I know. So I stand to second.
Thank you. Honorable members, I now propose the question at order number 12, that notwithstanding the provisions of Standing Order 41 and 42 relating to conveying of messages from the Senate and from the President or the National Executive, Standing Orders 120, 122, and 126 relating to publication, procedure upon publication, and first reading of bills, and Standing Order 210-2 relating to tabling of statutory instruments, this House orders that during the short and long recess of the 5th session, 1, upon receipt of any message from the Senate or upon receipt of any name of a person nominated for appointment to a state or public office from the President or any other office in the National Executive, the Speaker shall forthwith refer such message to the relevant committee for consideration without having to recall the House, and report such fact to the House on resumption. 2, upon receipt of any message relating to the Senate's amendments to a bill originating in the National Assembly, the Speaker shall forthwith refer the schedule of the Senate amendments to the relevant committee for consideration pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 145, Senate amendments to bills originating in the National Assembly, and report such fact to the House on resumption. 3, should a bill be published during the said period or a published bill become due for first reading, the Speaker shall, upon lapse of at least 3 days following the publication of the bill and following a determination that such bill is of priority, forthwith refer such a bill to the relevant committee for consideration pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 127, committal of bills to committees and public participation, and cause the bill to be read a first time upon its next sitting, and the second reading may be taken forthwith or on such other day as the House Business Committee may determine. 4, should any statutory instruments be transmitted for tabling before the House during the period, the Speaker shall, following the determination that the statutory instrument is of priority, forthwith refer the statutory instrument to the relevant committee for consideration and cause the statutory instrument to be tabled in the House upon its next sitting in accordance with the provisions of Section 11 of Statutory Instruments Act, Cap 2A, and 5. Should any paper be transmitted for tabling before the House, the Speaker shall, following a determination that the paper is of priority, forthwith refer the paper to the relevant committee for consideration and cause the paper to be tabled in the House upon the next sitting. We put the question. Honorable members, I now put the question at order number 12, which is that, notwithstanding the provision of Standing Order 41 and 42 relating to conveyancing of messages from the Senate and from the President of the National Executive, Standing Orders 120, 122, and 126 relating to publication, procedure upon publication, and first reading of bills, and Standing Order 210-2 relating to tabling of statutory instruments, this House orders that during the short and long recess of the fifth session, 1, upon receipt of any message from the Senate or upon receipt of any name of a person nominated for appointment to a state or public office from the President or any other office in the National Executive, the Speaker shall forthwith refer such message to the relevant committee for consideration without having to recall the House and report such fact to the House upon resumption. 2, upon receipt of any message relating to the Senate's amendment to a bill originating in the National Assembly, the Speaker shall forthwith refer the schedule of the Senate amendments to the relevant committee for consideration pursuant to the provision of Standing Order 145, Senate amendments to bills originating in the National Assembly, and report such fact to the House on resumption. 3, should a bill be published during the said period, or a published bill become due for the first reading, the Speaker shall, upon lapse of at least 3 days following the publication of the bill and following the determination that such a bill is a priority, forthwith refer such bill to the relevant committee for consideration pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 127, committal of bills to committees and public participation, and cause the bill to be read a first time upon its next sitting, and the second reading may be taken forthwith or on such other day as the House Business Committee may determine. 4, should any statutory instrument be transmitted for tabling before the House during the period, the Speaker shall, following determination that the statutory instrument is of priority, forthwith refer the statutory instrument to the relevant committee for consideration and cause the statutory instrument to be tabled in the House upon its next sitting in accordance with the provisions of Section 11 of the Statutory Instruments Act, Cap 2A, and 5. Should any paper be transmitted for tabling before the House, the Speaker shall, following a determination that the paper is of priority, forthwith refer the paper to the relevant committee for consideration and cause the paper to be tabled in the House upon its next sitting. As many as of that opinion say aye. Aye. Will those of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Next order.
Order number 13, procedural motion. Limitation of debate on legislative proposals to amend the Constitution.
Majority Leader.
Mike. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I beg to move that pursuant to the provision of Standing Order 97-1, this House orders that each speech in the general debate contemplated under Standing Order 114.7a(b), 114.7a and b, consideration of a legislative proposal to amend the Constitution be limited as follows. A maximum of 20 minutes for the mover in moving and 10 minutes in replying, 15 minutes for the leader of the majority party and the leader of the minority party if the proposal is not party-sponsored. Members with similar or related proposals and the chairperson of the relevant departmental committee, and 10 minutes for any other member speaking, and further that priority in speaking shall be accorded to the leader of the majority party, the leader of the minority party, and the chairperson of the relevant departmental committee in that order. I beg to move and I want to request the member for Embakasi East, the Honorable Babu Owino, to second.
Babu Owino, when you are called upon to second, you don't laugh boisterously in the House. You just stand up and second. Go unanswered. Give him the mic.
I second.
I beg to second. Okay. I beg to second.
Honorable Speaker, why should I beg to second?
But
I beg to second.
You know, Babu, you normally make technical appearances and you must be losing the touch with procedure. You are not begging the speaker, you are begging the House to give you an opportunity and a privilege to second. Honorable members, I now propose the question at order number 13, which is that pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 971, this House orders that each speech in the general debate contemplated under Standing Order 1147AB, consideration of a legislative proposal to amend the Constitution, be limited as follows: a maximum of 20 minutes for the mover in moving and 10 minutes in replying, 15 minutes for the leader of the majority party and the leader of the minority party. If the proposal is not party-sponsored, members with similar or related proposals and the chairperson of the relevant departmental committee, and 10 minutes for any other member speaking. And further, that priority in speaking shall be accorded to the leader of the majority party, the leader of the minority party, and the chairperson of the relevant departmental committee in that order. I put the question. Yes, Mkunji.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I would like to bring to the attention of the House that while we do give priority to the majority leader and the minority leader, Honorable Speaker, as per the guidance of the Constitution, we need to also put into consideration, Honorable Speaker, the post-election coalition formations, which, Honorable Speaker, has really reduced the aura of the debate in the House. Honorable Speaker, we are aware that the minority side and the majority side, there is a new alignment that makes the broad-based government. Honorable Speaker, I'm begging to, I know under Article 97 of the Constitution, it is well clear on the minority and the majority side. But I would call to your attention the new realignments of the House, Honorable Speaker, to ensure the debate is better in the House. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Yes, there is no coalition.
Mr. Speaker, I think it is important for the honorable member to understand that this House is guided by rules, key among them the standing orders. And Mr. Speaker, it would also be informative for this member to know that as we are approaching the end of this session, there shall be an opportunity for this member to contribute ideas on what needs to be changed in our standing orders so that they may apply in subsequent houses. But Mr. Speaker, what he is presenting today not only sits as a debate that should be held in Embu town as a conversation in a boda shed, but not a conversation to be brought to the floor of the House. A House that understands its rules and procedures as have been provided, not only by the standing orders, Mr. Speaker, but also by the Constitution of this country. So, Mr. Speaker, I would like for you to totally find the contribution by the honorable member just totally out of order, Mr. Speaker. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, when we began this particular House session, you actually made the rulings on who constitutes majority and minority. And those rulings are what abides to date. This other statement about a coalition that was formed after you made your rulings is alien to this House because it has not been introduced in any way so that it is recognized. If there are other coalitions that have been made out there by the executive or by any member in any forum, that is alien to this House. And therefore, the House remains as you ruled. We have a minority and we have a majority.
You want information, Murugara?
Yes, no problem. Majority may inform me if there's anything I've left out.
Honorable Speaker, the Honorable Sir George Murugara is not just an accomplished legal mind in this country like yourself, Honorable Speaker, who is a senior counsel. The next lot of senior counsels is likes of Sir George. From the time he worked with Hamilton, Harrison, and Matthews, he's a very good legal mind. And he will tell you, Honorable Speaker, and that's what I wanted to remind him, that the Constitution, the current Constitution, never envisaged a situation where we have a government party and an opposition party. So what my brother, younger brother, the honorable member for Manyata, Honorable Mukunji, is suffering from is hangovers of the past, hangovers of the old Constitution. And this is what happens to you when you follow a DO or a former DO who operated under the old Constitution, Honorable Speaker. It just happens, Honorable Speaker. You get confused in between because the leader of the minority party is not a leader of the opposition. If you want to be a leader of the opposition, you just become a leader of the opposition, but you must have an agenda to push with the people of Kenya. You cannot be a leader of the opposition by just shouting out there, throwing hatred, words of hatred, insulting other leaders. And Honorable Mukunji is a young man and he's learning well. But I hope he can learn from the likes of Tom Joseph Francis Kajwang or Sir George Murugara, not from former DOs. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Enough of that comic relief. I now call upon the mover to reply.
Honorable Speaker, I saw the Honorable Bukunji is telling me nisikanyanga shingo, and I was just advising him to learn from good legal minds like Tom Joseph Kajwang and Sir George, and I beg to reply, Honorable Speaker.
Order Mary must take the nearest seat. Members on their feet, take your seats. Dr. Nyikal, take your seat. Honorable members, I now put the question at order number 13, which is that, pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 971, this House orders that each speech in the general debate contemplated under Standing Order 114.7 consideration of a legislative proposal to amend the Constitution, be limited as follows: a maximum of 20 minutes for the mover in moving and 10 minutes in replying, 15 minutes for the leader of the majority party and the leader of the minority party. If the proposal is not sponsored by the party, members with similar or related proposals and the chairperson of the relevant departmental committee, and 10 minutes for any other member speaking. And further, that priority in speaking shall be accorded to the leader of the majority party, the leader of the minority party, and the chairperson of the relevant departmental committees in that order. As members of that opinion say aye. Aye. Will those of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Go back to order number 15 and give an opportunity to the chair of finance. Hold, chairman, they have to call out the order first.
Order number 5, papers.
Chair, Finance Committee.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, and I really thank you for your indulgence. Honorable Speaker, I beg to lay the following paper on the table of the House. Today, Wednesday, the 11th of February, 2026, report of the Departmental Committee on Finance and National Planning on its consideration for approval hearing of one Mr. Naftali Kipchirchir, the nominee for appointment to the position of a Director General of the Financial Reporting Center.
Thank you. Go back to order number 6.
Order number 6, notices of motion.
Chair Finance. Chair Finance. Chair Finance. You seem to be bewildered. Chair Finance, you seem to be bamboozled and bewildered by the presence of Wamshomba. Proceed under order number 6 to give your notice of motion.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
You know, there was a movie Kimani called In Praise of Older Women. And given the age difference between you and Wamshomba, you should go and watch that movie.
Honorable Speaker, for
I
the
said
record,
older, not old.
Honorable Speaker, for the record, I was just happy to see my elder sister. She held a very good two-term meeting. And because we are the same two-term group, I was just excited that she's doing a very good job on the ground. And not what you seem to be alluding to, Mr. Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to give a notice for the following motion: that take into consideration the findings of the Departmental Committee on Finance and National Planning in its report on the approval hearing of a nominee for appointment as a Director General of the Financial Reporting Center, laid on the table of the House this afternoon, Wednesday, the 11th of February 2026, and pursuant to the provisions of Section 25 of the Proceeds of Crime and Anti-Money Act, Pokalma Cap 59A, and Sections 3 and 8 of the Public Appointments Parliamentary Approval Act Cap 7F, that this House approves the appointment of Mr. Naftali Kipchil Chirono as a Director General of the Financial Reporting Center. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. Clerk, go to order number 14.
Order number 14, the Books and Newspapers Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 47 of 2025, first reading. A bill for an act of parliament to amend the Books and Newspapers Act and for connected purposes. Order number 15, motion, approval of the calendar of the House for the 5th session, 2026.
Majority Leader.
Honorable Speaker, I beg to move that pursuant to the provision of Standing Order 28, this House approves the calendar of the National Assembly regular sessions for the 5th session of 2026 as contained in the schedule to the order paper. And Honorable Speaker, the House Business Committee has proposed a total of 116 sittings for this session between 10th February, which is yesterday when we resumed, all the way to the 3rd of December this year. And this excludes any special sittings or any extra sittings that the House may resolve to sit due to any special business that may come or any priority business that may come in between, and we need to extend our sittings or to call for special sittings during either the short or the long recesses. Honorable Speaker, as members may also be aware, this first session, first part of the session is mostly guided by the submission of the budget policy statement and the medium-term debt strategy, which is to be tabled before this House by the 15th of February, which is this Sunday. Therefore, we expect that this will be tabled before the close of business tomorrow and should be considered and adopted by the House within the next 14 days. Therefore, until around the first week of March or the end of this month, we should have finalized with the budget policy statement and the medium-term debt strategy. And therefore, the Budget and Appropriations Committee, all our departmental committees, and the Debt Committee will be very busy the next 2 weeks. And therefore, I want to call on members, please avail yourselves during committee sittings so that you're able to expedite on this business for BPS and the medium-term debt strategy paper before the lapse of those 14 days, because these are statutory timelines. Additionally, we expect that we will get the Division of Revenue, hopefully by the 10th of March, which will be introduced in the National Assembly for consideration. And the second part, Honorable Speaker, is guided again by the budget timelines on conducting of public participation or public hearings by the Budget and Appropriations Committee on the annual budget estimates. And this should be undertaken before the committee tables its report on the estimates for approval by the House. Honorable Speaker, by mid-June, we should have completed this public participation. The committee tabled their report, and mid-June, we come for the pronouncement of the budget highlights and the revenue-raising measures by the Cabinet Secretary for the National Treasury. and thereafter approval of Budget and Appropriations Committee's report on the annual estimates, introduction and approval of the appropriation bill. This is the period that we'll also consider the finance bill, the appropriations bill, and any supplementary appropriations bills that may come before June 30th, 2026, which is the end of the current financial year. Honorable Speaker, this calendar has also taken into consideration the religious holidays that may fall in between, like Easter, where Good Friday is falling in on the 3rd of April, and Easter Monday will be on the 6th of April, and therefore will not be affected by this calendar. Similarly, Eid al-Fitr is expected to take place probably on Friday, 20th March, or Saturday, 21st March, depending on the sighting of the moon. And again, this being non-parliamentary sitting days will not affect this calendar. Finally, Honorable Speaker, we also in the House Business Committee did consider the annual prayer breakfast, which we agreed from last year under your leadership, Honorable Speaker, that the national annual prayer breakfast will be held on the last Thursday of May. And that last Thursday falls on the 28th of May. And we have therefore had to cut short our resource by a week, our long recess in May by a week. And we therefore be resuming the week before, so that on the 28th of May, we are all expected to join together in prayer during the annual prayer breakfast. Honorable Speaker, let me note that under your instructions, I led the Kenyan delegation to the National Prayer Breakfast in the United States last week, and together with the whip, Majority Whip, the Honorable Osoro, Senators Veronica Maina, Senator Maanzo, the Honorable Member for Kathiani and Deputy Leader of Minority, Honorable Mbui, and the Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka, the former Vice President, also joined us at the National Prayer Breakfast. And Honorable Speaker, you know, there are people who are spreading rumors in Taifa Leo that they are going to meet certain people. The National Prayer Breakfast is not a place to meet people. Other than the tete-a-tete you'll have on the table where you sit, there were no other side meetings other than the side meetings that we all attended as the Kenyan delegation, which I led. It was not led by anybody else. Let that be clear. It was led by the majority leader. So those who are sponsoring stories in Taifa Leo that they are going to meet, I don't know who in the Trump administration. They met nobody. Honorable Speaker. Finally, the calendar has taken into consideration our school's calendar, Honorable Speaker, for both primary and secondary school holidays. And of course, those children under CBE, and also those who attend the other systems, those who are attending the American system and the British curriculum holidays. If you look at the calendar, it has taken into consideration to ensure that those of you who have children under CBE, you will have time during the recess to spend with your children. And those who have children in the other systems, you also have time at least in two of the recess periods to spend time with your children and your families when you recess. Therefore, Honorable Speaker, with those many remarks, I beg to move. And I want to ask the Honorable Member by the name Adams Kipsanai to second this motion for the calendar of the National Assembly. This being a good time for the Honorable Adams to second. I beg to move.
Kipsanai.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to second.
Thank you. Jerry, take your seat. Order. Member on his feet. Thank you. I now propose the question at order number 15, which is that pursuant to the provision of Standing Order 28, this House approved the calendar of the National Assembly regular sessions for the 5th session 2026 as contained in the schedule to the order paper. You put the question? I now put the question at order number 15, which is that pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 28, this House approves the calendar of the National Assembly regular sessions for the 5th session 2026 as contained in the schedule to the order papers. Members of that opinion say aye. Aye. Will those of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Next order.
Order number 16, the Health Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 56 of 2024, second reading.
Jerry Maina, that's your bill. Are you ready to move?
Yes, Honorable Speaker. Thank you. The majority leader was trying to distract me. I was telling him that he's mentioning me so positively many times, he might send different signals to my political affiliation. Honorable Speaker, I beg to move the Health Amendment Bill 2024. And this bill, in a nutshell, seeks to criminalize.
Jerry, I know you are a first time out. When you move your bill, first you just read it as it is. I beg to move that the Health Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 56 of 2024, be now read a second time. Then you start your discourse.
KJ misled me, Honorable Speaker. Thank you for that guidance.
KJ, you are supposed to mentor, not to mislead new members. Go on, Jerry.
Honorable Speaker, I beg to move that the Health Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 56 of 2024, be read for the second time. I will never forgive KJ. Honorable Speaker, the Health Amendment Bill, in a nutshell, seeks to make it illegal to detain dead bodies in hospitals or mortuary facilities. It also seeks to make it illegal to demand prepayment of any kind prior to offering of emergency treatment. Honorable Speaker, we've had a rich discourse with the Health Committee in regard to this bill. Initially, it had proposed that this is criminalized for both public and private facilities. Unfortunately, Honorable Speaker, and I put it on the floor so that members can take it up, we arrived at a consensus that these amendments are only directed at public facilities, which is insufficient and does not cater to the urgent need to ensure that all Kenyans are treated equally and have their right to dignity protected and access to health care protected as per the Constitution. Honorable Speaker, before I delve into the issues, allow me to appreciate the selfless input of the Budget Committee, the Health Committee, the Parliament's Legal Department, who, despite my incessant prodding and numerous intellectual exchanges, never tired until we reached a consensus which is before this floor. This bill is personal to me. It is personal to the members of Parliament. It is personal to Kenyans. And I recognize that several members here have attended health-related funds drives for the families who perhaps have limited financial capacity because we are not equal in this life. Honorable Speaker, while Kenya now takes pride as having enacted universal health coverage, a momentous journey towards achieving access to health care for all, the lived experience of many Kenyans reflects otherwise. This bill proposes targeted amendments to the Health Act, Cap 241, to address two urgent issues that have been affecting Kenyans. The first being the demand for prepayment before emergency medical treatment is provided, and the detention or hostage taking of dead bodies by hospitals and mortuaries as collateral for unpaid medical bills. Honorable Speaker, this bill gives teeth to the constitutional right to emergency medical treatment and Article 43(2) of the Constitution of Kenya, and safeguards the right to dignity as provided by Article 28. Honorable Speaker, the law as it is lacking. The court's decisions and pronouncements, the High Court in particular, in regard to the issue of detaining dead bodies as collateral, given, or the rationale behind it being that dead bodies, no matter how long they are detained in facilities, will never accrue any objective in a manner that they cannot be sold for profit. But the hospital and mortuaries continue to detain the bodies of Kenyans who have passed on, who perhaps come from financially incapacitated families, to ensure that they have drained them emotionally so that they can pay the bill. Honorable Speaker, the right to emergency treatment must be protected by this House. This expands the scope of emergency care to cover treatment at the scene, during transport, and through to the hospital. It also creates an offense for demanding prepayment, where any person held liable will be fined to a tune of Kenya shillings 3 million. These amendments further create an offense for detaining dead bodies where any public officer in a healthcare facility who has either facilitated or authorized detainment of a dead body shall be fined to a tune of Kenya shillings 2 million. Honorable Speaker, it further imposes a duty on all public sector healthcare providers to ensure that medical costs do not impede attention to emergency treatment. Honorable Speaker, like I have said, this is a lived experience. The Kenyatta National Hospital issued a public notice regarding 262 unclaimed bodies in the last year. Honorable Speaker, in June 2025, a further 124 unclaimed bodies were subjected to a similar notice. Many of these remain unclaimed precisely because families cannot afford the bills due to the harsh realities of the economic life in Kenya. To give life to this bill, Honorable Speaker, and the amendments therein, I want to reiterate that this is not mere rhetoric. This is not politics, Honorable Speaker. This bill is for the sake of the many Kenyans who are still unable to cater for their medical bills, or those of their loved ones once they're deceased. Honorable Speaker, the Mater Hospital in 2025 detained the body of a Kenyan by the name Caroline Tito, a widow, a mother of 2 college-age sons, for over 2 months for the failure to pay Kenya shillings 3.3 million. Honorable Speaker, from a human perspective, I want to pose a question to this House. Were the 2 college-age sons, did they have the capacity, even if they had wanted to clear the medical bill so that they could lay their mother to rest? Another father human experience and the human face of this bill is the Kenyatta Memorial Funeral Home. Honorable Speaker, this is a matter that I personally litigated in offering my pro bono services to Kenyans who cannot afford to pay for legal services. Honorable Speaker, this matter of the dead body hearing was one young, promising youth by the name Kelvin. Honorable Speaker, Kelvin was a medical student, straight A's from school, sponsored by the community, graduated, and then came to Nairobi to seek for employment opportunities. Unfortunately, he did not find any employment opportunity in regard to the course he had studied for. So like any other hardworking youth in Kenya, he started a border business. While going home on one unfortunate night, Kelvin was hit on the Thika superhighway by a public transport vehicle, and he was admitted under emergency care at the Kenyatta University Teaching Referral Hospital. Unfortunately, he accrued a bill to a tune of Kenya shillings 1.2 million. His mother could not be able to raise it. Kelvin had a wife and a young son. When I litigated this matter, Honorable Speaker, it gave me the perspective, and I want the members to put themselves in the shoes of Kelvin's mother, who was a squatter, who did not have any property she could have sold to get the body of her only son, who was a straight-A student, had come to Nairobi to seek for better opportunity. But unfortunately, he had encountered an incident where he passed on. Every day, his mother called me for 6 months as I litigated in court. And it broke my heart because I didn't know what to tell her. You know, some days we'd go to court, there'd be the bureaucracy of the judicial system, and every day she was hoping that she could find closure by laying Kelvin to rest. Kelvin deserved to have been given his right to dignity, to be accorded a funeral as per the African custom and traditions. Honorable Speaker, he couldn't because Kenyatta Memorial Funeral Home withheld his body for close to a year, emotionally draining his family. His mother had to do numerous harambees, and we know the economic situation in the village setup. They could not manage to raise the Kenya shillings 1.2 million. It might be pocket change for some people, but even Kenya shillings 500 in the village is a lot of money. And ultimately, this matter came to a conclusion. The court, the magistrate's court at Ruiru, ruled that a dead body, even if it is detained for 10 years, it will never be property that can be sold to recover the unpaid medical bills. Honorable Speaker, Pumwani Maternity Hospital, the High Court ruling of 2015. Maimuna Omoya was unable to pay a mere 6,000 Kenya shillings that was required so that she could be discharged. She was detained at the facility with her newborn for nearly a month. And every time, every day, the bill kept accruing. Honorable Speaker, the courts have been clear. They have pronounced themselves. It is upon this House to pass these amendments, to legislate, to give judicial legitimacy to the decisions by our courts of law. Honorable Speaker, from a human perspective, and because we are Africans, we know that it is custom for us to bury the dead, to lay them to rest, so that we can find closure and move on with the day-to-day life. There are families that are denied that by hospital facilities, just merely because they are financially incapable. It is not a case of not wanting to. I do not think anyone would want to leave their kin, someone that they loved, someone they shared and spent time with in this life, rotting away in a mortuary facility instead of doing as per our customs. Honorable Speaker, we are reminded again of emergency services. We say we have SHA that is supposed to cater for all Kenyans, but is that the reality, Honorable Speaker? I'll tell you the reality. Or like Kenyans say, quote unquote, vitu kwa ground. A young man in Kirinyaga County was playing football at a field near Kutus. He collapsed and was rushed to a nearby county medical facility. Unfortunately, he could not be admitted because he had apparently not paid for SHA. Access to emergency services. We must ensure that medics that deny emergency services to Kenyans who prioritize financial gain while a Kenyan is losing their life, they are culpable and that they are held so by the law and fined as per these amendments. Honorable Speaker, the realities, when we remember the baby who had a fork djembe in his head, went to Kenyatta National Hospital, the mother could not afford to raise 20,000 for that child to be treated. Unfortunately, due to the delay in attaining the dire emergency services, that baby succumbed while waiting for treatment on the bench of a facility that should have ensured that he's alive today, going to school like other children, and even given hope to his parents to see him grow and perhaps be like one of us here in future. Honorable Speaker, jurisdictions across the world have ratified through legislation the provisions that I am pushing bill. Canada have legislation that prioritizes emergency care and ensures that everyone, despite their financial capacity, can access the same. And then, honestly, the money must come after the human life has been saved. Someone asked me a very pertinent question. How will the hospitals recover their monies? And my answer was simple. Civil litigation, Honorable Speaker. A medical bill is a debt. In general practice, if someone owes you money, you make an application to the court, the matter is heard and determined, and if they had any assets after their liabilities had been paid off, then it is prioritized as a debt to be paid by the estate of that person. But the reality is that these families have no assets. It is not a case of they will not, they cannot, they have no capacity to pay. And even if, like I have insisted, the body was detained for 10, 20 years, it can never be sold for even Kenya shillings 1 bob. So it is a humane perspective. We've also recommended that there be a mechanism or a policy to determine needy families or cases so that persons who are actually able to pay for these services do not take advantage. Honorable Speaker, the Supreme Court of India in Katara versus Union of India, 1989, established that no hospital may refuse emergency treatment to save a life, regardless of their ability to pay. I know we have medics in the House, and I know that they do take an oath, just like lawyers do, take an oath to defend justice when it calls for it. I want to implore upon this House to pass these amendments, to develop this bill further, to ensure that even private facilities are also culpable, equally culpable. They should not be left out because human life is more important and must be more important than financial gain. Honorable Speaker, Article 43 of the Constitution of Kenya provides that every person has a right to the highest attainable standard of health, including the right to healthcare services. These amendments will protect and safeguard and actualize implementation of that right. Honorable Speaker, Section 137 of the Penal Code makes it an offense to unlawfully hinder the burial of a dead body. But if dead bodies are detained in mortuary facilities, that for Kenyans that this bill reinforces. Honorable Speaker, it is therefore our duty as members of Parliament to ensure that we pass this legislation, we improve it, we develop it, we make it richer when it comes to that stage so that we can protect Kenyans. This bill will restore the dignity in death. This bill will give judiciary precedent, the legislative backing. This bill will align with the global health standards. It is bipartisan, it is human, it does not know the majority side, it does not know the minority side, it does not know Wamunyoro, it does not know any political affiliations. It is a bill for Kenyans. Let us take it as such when we debate. Let us enrich the debate. And Honorable Speaker, because I know many members, I had requested them to stay behind so they could contribute to this. I will not belabor, and I can tell they are convinced the way they are shaking their heads in conviction. Even the majority leader is convinced. I would like to call upon the immediate. I move. Honorable Speaker, I beg to move and now request the immediate former chair of the Health Committee, Dr. Robert Pukose, to second. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I don't think anybody would have moved that bill better than you've done it. I think you've done it the right way. If we were in a court of law, I'm sure the judge would have tilted your way almost immediately. Dr. Pukose, take your seat for a minute. For the convenience of the House, I would like us to go back to order number 5 and allow the majority leader to table a number of papers, then we'll come back to this immediately. The majority leader, go ahead. Order. Majority leader, this is your chance to lay the papers.
Order number 5, papers.
Majority leader, go ahead.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to lay the following papers on the table of the House today, Wednesday, 11th February 2026, afternoon sitting. The 2026 budget policy statement, together with the following accompanying documents. 1, the medium-term debt management strategy of 2026. 2, the draft division of revenue bill 2026. 3, the draft county allocation of revenue bill 2026. 4, the county government's additional allocations bill of 2026. And 5, programs outputs, performance indicators, and targets for the financial year 2026-2027 and the medium term. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. And I can confirm to the member for Kirinyaga County that indeed the bill she has just moved is a good bill, and I am convinced.
Nice. So the papers laid. Thank you. Back now to order number 16, I think. Back to order number 16. Honorable Pukose, this is a chance to second.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I stand to second this very important bill by the member for Kirinyaga, the Honorable Njeri. And this bill, Honorable Speaker, is a good bill. This bill came to us in the Committee of Health, and we had a look at it. It also came to us in the Committee of Budget, and we approved. It's an important bill, Honorable Speaker, because it speaks into the challenges that many Kenyans face. Honorable Speaker, under the Kenya Kwanza administration, we passed the 4 UHC bills. Among them, it created the Emergency, Chronic, and Critical Care Fund. Under this fund, there is the provision for emergency services. And therefore, whether it's a government facility, public facility, faith-based organization, or a private hospital, there is no reason why you cannot offer emergency services, because it is well taken care of. And therefore, this bill is just to reinforce that important aspect, because in the bill, it's providing that failure to attend to a patient because you are in an emergency situation, then you'll be fined 2 million shillings. And therefore, I think this actualizes that Kenya Kwanza creation of the Emergency, Critical, and Chronic Fund. And therefore, and in our constitution, every Kenyan is entitled to the highest attainable standard of health. And you are entitled to emergency services. Secondly, Honorable Speaker, many people, especially many of the members of parliament here today, will attest to the fact that you have cases where bodies are being detained in a hospital. And you know, once somebody has lost their person, these are people who are mourning, these are people who are in serious other challenges. People even conduct fundraising to go and get their body. But you still find the whole institution insisting that they must clear the bill. And I think this for a long time has been abused. When you look at the bill, it's limiting to public facilities. But members are free to also bring in amendments to include private facilities, because you have no reason to continue detaining a body, and as just as Honorable Njeri puts it, even if you stay with that body, you cannot sell it to anybody, and you cannot make money out of it. It is just humanly that you are able to release that body so that the relatives can be able to give that body a decent burial and be able to organize and get you your money. So I think, to me, this is a very good bill, and now we can begin with the public institutions where you are even getting money from the exchequer, from the taxes of Kenyans, where Kenyans are paying taxes, and more often, this parliament appropriates money from the public to those public institutions. And even now, with the primary health care fund, with the SHA fund, SHIF, with the emergency critical and chronic illness fund, all the other expenses have been paid. And even in other covers, you are covering the last respects for that body. And therefore, to me, Honorable Speaker, this is a very important bill that will address issues that affects our society, and we expect that hospitals will be able to now do the right thing, and that this House will pass this bill and it becomes law very soon so that it can be actualized. With those few remarks, Honorable Speaker, I second.
Thank you so much. I remember that I now propose the question that the Health Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 56 of 2024, be now read a second time. And the first bite of the cherry would be the chairman of the Health Committee, Honorable Nyikal.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, to give me opportunity to contribute to this bill. Mr. Speaker, this is an extremely important bill, and this is not the first time we have had proposal for this bill in this House. Actually, I think this is the third time, but this actually has gone relatively differently. It went through the committee, and the committee actually gave full support for this bill. I know other members have tried this before. Honorable Lord here actually was the first to propose exactly the same bill, but at the time, and considering the financial arrangements in the country, it was felt that this would actually bring a lot of hardships, particularly in the private sector, and therefore the committee didn't. But this particular time, the committee looked at it, and actually we support the bill. And Mr. Speaker, the object of this bill is actually simple. Is access to emergency treatment, whether you have money or not, at that critical point when you can lose your life or you can recover, but with very severe disabilities or severe injury to yourself, so that you recover with infirmities, or at a situation where quick treatment will actually resolve your illness quickly, which otherwise would take a longer time and make it more expensive. That's really by definition what emergency. Of course, therefore, it is important that that service be not subject to immediate availability of funds and payment. Then the other one, Mr. Speaker, is the detention of bodies to enforce payment. Obviously, this is something that many people have suffered through, and there's been a lot of public outcry, and bodies have been detained, people have suffered, and therefore, this is something that, again, we should address. And this bill, in the form that it is actually referring to public health facilities, which is okay, but if you look at that, it's a bit discriminatory. And the committee has actually looked at the bill and proposed a number of amendments, which will include also applying in private health facilities. There will be other amendments that we will take into consideration, but in principle, we support it. But Mr. Speaker, the underlying issue in the whole of this debate is health financing. Bodies are held because the people who are running the facilities, particularly the private hospitals, need to recover their expenses. And as people see and often say, it is the medical practitioners, the facilities that people see. What people don't realize is behind all this, when you are in an emergency medical situation, what is happening? You are using appliances, you are using medical product, you are giving oxygen, you are giving IV fluids. What the world and the country does not see is that the people who manufacture and provide these things do not give them for free, and they will actually insist on being paid. And that's where really the problem is. And so, in reality, Mr. Speaker, health should not be a business. There is a very simple principle, Mr. Speaker. If you are sick, and you go to a hospital and you are denied treatment, the whole world agrees with you. And as we are putting here, we will punish the people who deny you treatment. So if that is the situation, how would then that be a business? A business where you are entitled to, whether you are able to pay or not. Take the example of somebody who is hungry, and you walk to a restaurant or a hotel and say, I'm hungry, I'm famished, I'm suffering, and you eat. And then you say, I don't have money to pay. The whole world agrees that you should be punished. If you didn't have money, why did you go there? Now, that basic difference is very important, so that socially, psychologically, and emotionally, the whole world agrees that health services should actually not be a business. But the reality in the world in which we live is that it is. As I said, people who manufacture health products will need to be paid. People who work will need to be paid. But I think in our circumstances today, we are making efforts. And the reason why the committee had earlier rejected the same bills and now accepted it is because we are put in law provisions that if they're working should actually make it possible for payments to be made. We have put the social health insurance, the social health insurance law in place, the funding in place. We have put the emergency and critical care fund in place. We have put the primary care fund in place. But however, Mr. Speaker, we have a framework which can make this possible. But I must say, this is something we must work very hard on. SHA, for example, really must work. I know it is starting to work a little bit, but there's still a lot of issues that we need to actually look at, and this will bring a report here that will indicate what can we do to improve it. The critical care fund, although has not been absolutely funded, we need about 150 billion. I think the last that was given was something like 10 billion. Now, if that is what is going to pay when you are being treated on an emergency basis and is not adequate, it will not work. So again, we will have to look at the budget process so that when we pass this bill, the budget process must also reflect that as a country, we want to provide funds for critical and emergency care. And I'll call upon members here that when the committee brings and proposes higher funding for the health sector, that will be necessary, because the critical care fund is actually not under the insurance. It is actually one that is to be done from the Treasury. So with that, Mr. Speaker, we support this bill, and we will make appropriate amendments. The committee will have appropriate amendments to it, but it should go through. But what I remind ourselves, that the very best is to get a system where healthcare to a large extent is not really a business as such, but if it is a business, we put a financing framework that makes it possible for all to assess, so that even the business people in it do not lose their funds. Because if they do, people will not provide the services that we need. And the public sector alone cannot provide all the services that the country needs. So our system must take into consideration both the private sector and the public sector in terms of financing to make this a bill that is realistic, that will not be seen as punitive without taking into consideration the people who put their resources and their time in providing health for Kenyans. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you so much. Members, I know this has a lot of interest. We got 3 hours on this bill. I wish to request for your patience. Don't pressure me from the chair. Only one person will speak at a time. So as I give the member for Molo a chance to contribute on this, I want to request you, don't come here to pressure me. I'm going to follow the list the way it is. It's 3 hours, only 11 requests. So everyone will have a chance to speak. Go ahead, member for Molo.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to contribute to this very good bill drafted by the formidable lawyer, the Honorable Member for Kenyatta County, the Honorable Njeri Minor. Honorable Speaker, this bill is seeking to amend the Health Act Cap 241 so that it aligns with our Constitution. Article 43 of our Constitution that gives the right to health, and Article 28, Honorable Speaker, of our Constitution that gives the right for human dignity. Honorable Speaker, this bill is seeking to do two very major things. One, to make it now essential, mandatory for doctors and health institutions to give emergency attention or emergency care to any patient that goes to those hospitals, irrespective of whether they have money or not, Honorable Speaker. And this is also a big call, Honorable Speaker, in as much as we're putting this into law, to restore the humanity that we had for health professionals, whether they are doctors or nurses, Honorable Speaker, because the cases that the Honorable Member demonstrated of people who have been denied medical care, and there are so many of them, Honorable Speaker, who have died, waiting for medical attention, and it is an emergency, Honorable Speaker. When we're in school, the people that we knew from our villages who are nurses and who are doctors, we knew them as very humane and passionate people. But, Honorable Speaker, it seems that nowadays that humanity now has gone out of the window, and that's why you find doctors denying medical attention to people, Honorable Speaker, until they die on the benches of those particular hospitals, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, it's also important to note that this bill does not remove the need to pay, Honorable Speaker, for services offered by hospitals, Honorable Speaker. It only criminalizes detention of living people and dead people, Honorable Speaker, in those particular hospitals. We have had cases, Honorable Speaker. In fact, I intervened a week ago for one of my constituents who had stayed in hospital, whose body had been taken in hospital, Honorable Speaker, for more than 5 months. Honorable Speaker, it will even be logical sense for hospital, Honorable Speaker, you end up spending more money on that particular body in hospital, or you end up spending more money on that particular patient that they're putting in the hospital, Honorable Speaker. It will make more sense for you to release them at home so that those hospitals do not continue to incur other expenses, Honorable Speaker. But it seems now that the hospitals are not doing this, that is why it now has been necessitated to come up with this particular law, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I would also like to speak to the costs of medication, Honorable Speaker, and especially for private hospitals, Honorable Speaker. Although the bill is seeking to criminalize this only in public hospitals, Honorable Speaker, but I wish the Health Committee would come up with amendments to also make it for private hospitals, Honorable Speaker. I was interacting with one of my friends over the weekend, Honorable Speaker, and was telling me of a hospital, for example, in Nakuru, that is asking for a deposit of 80,000 shillings for just a hospital bed, Honorable Speaker. Even the most, even five-star hotels, Honorable Speaker, in this country, per night is only 30,000 shillings in the most expensive hotels. So why are hospitals asking for a deposit of even 80,000 shillings for just a hospital bed? And all they need to do is a small bed. The hospital, the patient need to sleep, Honorable Speaker, chai asubuhi, lunch and dinner, Honorable Speaker. And most of them don't even feed well, Honorable Speaker, because they are sick. So this issue of charging 80,000 shillings for a hospital bed, even for private hospital, Honorable Speaker, should be looked to and be made illegal, Honorable Speaker. We have the other charges, Honorable Speaker, for private hospitals. You know, private hospitals play a very critical role in supplementing what is done in public hospitals. And therefore, it's a good thing that we have businesses, we have entrepreneurs that have invested in these hospitals as a business, and that complements the work that is being by public hospitals, Honorable Speaker. But that should not be at exorbitant fees, Honorable Speaker. In some hospitals, the cost of removing a tooth, just removing a tooth, is over 10,000. Kutoa meno tu. You know, these charges that are being charged by these private hospitals, even if it's a business, they are very exorbitant. And I think the Ministry of Health needs to come up with regulations of how much should be paid for which service. The same way, for example, in SHA, Honorable Speaker, where it standardizes the fees for consultation for all medication, Honorable Speaker, there should also be regulations that standardizes how much is charged by hospitals, Honorable Speaker, even by private hospitals, Honorable Speaker. Because in as much as we appreciate how they are supplementing the work of public hospitals, Honorable Speaker, some charges are too exorbitant, Honorable Speaker. And with that, I beg to support this particular bill by the Honorable Member and congratulate the Honorable Njeri for doing such a very good job. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Rueda Obo. The next one in line is the Honorable John Gitonga of Manyatta.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. And I will start at foremost by congratulating my colleague, Honorable Njeri Maina. And Honorable Speaker, also congratulating the House on a priority on private members' bills so that members can be able to impact their life in this House, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I rise also to support the bill, and I believe this bill aligns very well with the spirit of our Constitution under Article 43, Honorable Speaker, subsection 3, on issues to do with social security. Honorable Speaker, health is a very critical issue, Honorable Speaker, in this nation. And Honorable Speaker, many of the honorable members who are here today will agree with me that everybody has a case in his constituency or in his county on a detained body, Honorable Speaker. And mostly it is happening in our public hospitals. Honorable Speaker, last week I was dealing with a case in my constituency of a body that has stayed in hospital for 4 months. And the family has taken trips to a hospital in Kikuyu, Honorable Speaker, close to 20 times, requesting for waivers. We write letters, Honorable Speaker, but the family had stopped the mourning. People had contributed all they can contribute, but because the bill is big, Honorable Speaker, the body continue being detained. And Honorable Speaker, this bill speaks to the humanity of this House. This bill, Honorable Speaker, speaks to the conscience of our nation, Kenya. That, Honorable Speaker, when somebody loses a loved one, what remains of that person is to get closure and continue with their lives. Detaining a body, Honorable Speaker, is the worst type of torture for a family that has lost a loved one. Honorable Speaker, I would not wish any person in this nation to experience somebody who has lost their lives and they have been detained. And Honorable Speaker, to prove that, we have seen even those that die outside the country do harambes, even when they are unable to raise the funds to have the bodies of their loved one brought back to the nation, to our nation for burial, Honorable Speaker. And this speaks to our culture. This speaks, Honorable Speaker, to our religion. Honorable Speaker, our Muslim brothers have in their religion that they're supposed to bury their loved ones within a day. and we have seen it many times, including honorable members. When a family is unable to bury their loved one because the body has been detained, it means that, Honorable Speaker, even they feel lost in terms of the religion, Honorable Speaker. And maybe among the amendments, Honorable Speaker, that we are going to be proposing is to tie this to our social security, to tie this into insurance agencies, that insurance companies that provide insurance in this nation, so that, Honorable Speaker, hospitals can have insurance when a loved one is lost, and when when a loved one is lost and the family is unable to raise the funds, they can go to that insurance to claim for something, instead of going the civil case way, as Honorable Jerry Minor had proposed. I also want to propose, Honorable Speaker, another amendment that is very important, is to also give a timeline, so that it doesn't mean that every single body that has died in hospital, the family negates the payment, knowing very well there is law to say release the body immediately. We need to put a timeline, maybe a week or two, for ensuring that there is also some effort from the side of the family to have the body of their loved one getting buried, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I can't finish my contribution without saying this House must critically look at the health sector of this nation. And without a doubt, Honorable Speaker, I'll say that yes, we have passed laws here, including the ones that established SHA and SHIF. But we need to agree that our health sector in this nation is ailing. The myriad of challenges, Honorable Speaker, cannot be underscored by this House. We have equipment in our public hospitals that are not working. Many of our hospitals, level 5s and level 4s, are actually hospitals that are not in operation. And it is a deathbed of many of our loved ones, Honorable Speaker. We have seen the program that was started by the former regime, Honorable Speaker, of the equipment. Many of those equipments are not working today. And it means that the deaths that we want today to pass and say that they should not be detaining the bodies, Honorable Speaker, we will have more of those if we don't work and put health first, Honorable Speaker, in this House. Honorable Speaker, Article 43 is very clear on the right of Kenyans when it comes to health care. And one of the purpose of this House is to push and ensure that our Constitution is well obeyed. If it is a county government, we must ensure and call our brothers in the upper house, in the Senate, Honorable Speaker, to ensure and compel health care systems that work in the counties, so that, Honorable Speaker, we don't continue facing the challenges that we are facing. Honorable Speaker, we raised some issues here with the Ministry of Health last year. Some of them involved an equipment that was supposed to change the diagnosis and treatment of cancer in this nation. The cyber knife, Honorable Speaker, equipment in the KU hospital, Honorable Speaker. That equipment that was launched in the year 2023, even today has never operated, simply because we don't have a technician to use such an equipment. It speaks to lack of seriousness when we are investing in serious equipment and using public money. I call upon this House to work this year to ensure that we do pass laws and compel our healthcare to work, Honorable Speaker. SHA is also something that is not very clear. We need to pass laws to ensure SHA works for the people. How comes, Honorable Speaker, me that is paid by government every month, contributes monthly, but when a hustler, a matatu tout, gets to pay SHA, is told to pay for 2 years? It is not right, it is not fair, and Honorable Speaker, those are things that are ailing our nation. As I support this bill, Honorable Speaker, I want to call upon this House to reconsider that law and ensure that it works for the nation. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable, I could actually read this for you so that you don't carry your hands up. The next person online is Charles Ngusia, will be followed by Gitonga Murugara, like that, so that you don't keep holding your hands. It's that simple. Honorable Ngusia.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, Honorable Speaker, for this opportunity to contribute to this critical bill, actually, which has been done by Honorable Njeri. Congratulations, the lady from Kirinyaga, who has done a very good bill. Mr. Speaker, this bill is killing two birds with one stone. Number one, it is going to criminalize, or rather illegalize, the retention of dead bodies, and also it is going to ensure we are going to streamline emergency treatment of emergency cases in our hospital, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I note with concern that Kenya ratified international treaties that actually compel, or rather forces the state to respect and to protect and, of course, fulfill the right of health as enshrined in our Constitution. And that is why this bill is so important. It is going to align with the international standard and also live into the spirit of our Constitution 2010 we assented. Mr. Speaker, I recall last year, I tried actually to sort out a mess in my constituency. The body was retained in hospital for 2 years, and it had accumulated a mortuary bill of around 2 million shillings, Mr. Speaker. And it took me an intervention actually to help this family to get that body. And these are some of the things we want to sort out completely. We need to do away with these cases in our country so that we can treat the human bodies with the dignity and respect it deserves, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, it worries me a lot. Even emergency cases, they go more than actually a day before being attended in our hospitals.
Order. Order. Go ahead. There's a member from, I think this one is from Baringo. This first-time MP who keeps interrupting and pointing at the speaker with his fingers. It's unparliamentary. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this intervention. It's indeed Gadoni wa Mushomba and Babu Owino who are interfering in the process of the House, the flow of the House. Mr. Speaker, I was actually mentioning some of these emergency cases in our country. They go even a day without being attended to. And it is high time we define what is an emergency case. If an emergency case is occurring, it should not take more than 10 minutes in hospital without being attended to. You end up somebody either breaking a leg or any part of the body, and you will end up staying in hospital for more than 6 hours without being attended. I don't know, opening the files, paying 2,000 shillings. These things should go direct to the doctor and be attended to without hesitating, or rather compelling the patient to pay the bills, Mr. Speaker. So this bill is very important for us as a country. And it is unfortunate we have commercialized our health sector. We should not be prioritizing on issues of money. Instead, we are supposed to prioritize saving lives and even saving people from going through difficult times, Mr. Speaker. With those few remarks, I note it is very important we actually treat this bill very seriously, make sure proper implementation is done so that we can restore dignity and also to align with the international treaties we have assented to, and also to live in the spirit of our Constitution 2010. With those few remarks, I fully support and congratulate the Honorable Member for bringing such a beautiful bill in our House. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Murugara, followed by the Honorable Babu Owino.
Oh, Babu is there. All right. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, allow me also to stand and support this bill unreservedly, because it's a very important bill, especially as regards our health sector in the country, which sector to some extent has challenges, which challenges must be overcome from time to time. It's important we thank Honorable Njeri Maina, the member for Kirinyaga, for doing this. She's always an astute lawyer, young lawyer, who performed very well when I sat with her in the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee. And with the whole expanse of our legal career ahead of her, Honorable Njeri, you're going to do well, and we wish you the very best as we continue in this country. Honorable Speaker, matters health are constitutional rights. In fact, it's part of the basic human rights in the country, and if anybody has any doubt to this, look at Article 43 of our Constitution. Therefore, this being a constitutional right, we as a House of Parliament, the National Assembly, we must do the best we can to ensure that we have the best legislation that governs matters health. Upon passage of this bill, it will go to the Senate. And we must implore on the Senate also to move with speed, pass this bill so that it is assented to. And we'll be also pleading with the President of the Republic of Kenya to assent to this bill so that we can realize the fruits of what we are legislating on here today. We know very well health is devolved and the national government has only policy to deal with. Our hospitals are run by county governments, and there isn't much right home about when it comes to what county governments do, especially in the health sector. We have said from time to time that in fact, possibly we were wrong to devolve health. It should have remained to the national government so that we leave county governments to deal with the mundane issues like control of gambling and what have you. Mundane things that do not touch on general Kenyans' livelihoods. Be that as it may, we must implore upon the governors to ensure that our hospitals are working, they are working well, and Kenyans are able to reap fruits of their health sector and laws like this one, which we are promulgating today. It's important to note that health, and especially the practice of medicine and law, are the oldest professions in this country. Professions properly called, there are other professions which really are not professions but trades. But as professions, you will all recall that when it came to practice of law and the practice of medicine, there were no payments. These were pro bono services that were being offered by doctors of yore and lawyers of yore, those who were there before those times. However, today, greed has crept in to both the professions, and even as we admonish the medical practice, lawyers also cannot escape unscathed. So what are we supposed to do? We are supposed to ensure that when it comes to medicine, you save life first, not you look at profit or you look at the monetary gain you are making from the practice. Therefore, how does a person who comes to hospital critically injured, you are detained as your relatives look for money to pay a deposit so that you can be admitted into hospital. Sincerely, I do not think this is for this season, or it is for this age in time. We should now be moving to universal health care, where you move into hospital, you are treated first, and money comes second. Therefore, the issue of deposits should actually be legislated against, so that you do not have to have any deposits when you appear in the hospital on an emergency basis. Now, the second issue that we are legislating on today is on dead bodies, such that a hospital worth its salt would decline to release a body purely because the hospital is owed some medical fees. And the question being posed by these members of parliament is, what is the benefit of holding that body? What do you reap from holding the body? What are you going to do with it? Absolutely nothing. It's purely to cajole and get relatives into more agony and trouble, because they have to look for money to pay that bill before they lay to rest their loved one. This cannot be justified in any way, and the hospitals must be admonished for even trying to retain security, so that this person will come back to claim the body and claim the security. You'll be told you have to leave behind your ID card. How can anyone detain your ID card, your only mode of identification, especially in the rural areas like Tharaka, where really there are no passports or any other way you can identify yourself? You are told, leave behind your ID card. You are told, bring a title deed. Of what use would be a title deed unless it is accompanied by a legal document known as a charge or a mortgage? You cannot sell that property. You cannot do anything with that title. And sometimes even logbooks. You are told to bring a logbook so that we can hold it as security as you look for the money to reclaim the dead body. Unfortunately, for a logbook, you need a charter's mortgage. And without that, you can do nothing with those documents. And I laud Kenyans who are ingenious, because for the ID, the following, you just walk to a police station, report that the ID is lost, and within a span of 1 month, you have a new ID. So that hospital has wasted its energy, resources, and time in holding that ID. It is of no value, and I'm told many hospitals are holding many of these IDs which are useless. The same with a title deed. You get a replacement. A logbook, you get a replacement. Let us go back to the old days, as we said. The nursing profession, which is part of the medical practice, begins just around the time of a lady known as Florence Nightingale. This is a lady who volunteered with a battalion of nurses to go into battlefields where battalions were fighting against each other, but she would move in without caring which side the injured person came from, to try and save life. She was not being paid by anybody. She was not asking for any deposit from anyone. She was just there to render pro bono services so that lives in the battlefields are saved. Those are emergencies. As we speak today, we don't go to war a lot, but we have road accidents, we have fire accidents, and all these accidents that bring in emergencies. Let's not have any hospital, let's not have any medical practitioner asking for a deposit before attending to an emergency case. With those remarks, I again laud Honorable Njeri. We need to support this bill. The Senate needs to fast track it, and we also urge the President to assent to the bill as soon as it is taken before him, so that Kenyans can continue to reap the fruits of universal health care applying to every Kenyan. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker.
I already gave out the person speaking next.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I rise to support the bill by Honorable Jane Njeri, a very well thought of bill, Honorable Speaker, a bill that is preserving the dignity of Kenyans, not only inherently, but also the inalienable dignity of Kenyans, of a right to access health services as enshrined in the Constitution in Article 43, Subarticle 1, Paragraph A, that every person has a right to access to healthcare services. And in addition to that, Article 42, Article 43, Subarticle 2, further breathes life that every person has a right to access any emergency treatment. And Honorable Speaker, from time to time, we've been going against the spirit of the Constitution in an attempt to make money. And because of that, Honorable Speaker, we know very well that greed blurs vision. When there is too much greed, when we are just looking for money, there will be no vision. Honorable Speaker, we know very well of the Hippocratic oath that the doctors took, which is named clearly after the physician, the Greek physician called Hippocrates. And it is clear the person is the father of medicine. It is clear, Honorable Speaker, that the oath states that, number one, you should not do harm. Do no harm. Mean no harm. Number two, that you should treat the patients according to the best of your ability as a medic. And number three, that you owe a duty of care to the patients that come to these medical facilities. Further, there is an oath taken by the nurses, the Nightingale Pledge, which was created in 1893 in honor of Florence Nightingale, that do no harm, that you need to practice nursing faithfully, just as doctors should practice medicine ethically. And therefore, Honorable Speaker, if somebody walks to a hospital to access treatment, the first thing that every Kenyan citizen should get is a right to have a healthy life. Honorable Speaker, you know the role of health in economic development. A sick nation...
Honorable Babu.
Yes, Honorable Speaker.
It would seem that mostly those who turn people away are neither doctors nor nurses. There are these people called hospital administrators. Where do you put them? Because they don't.
I'm coming there, Honorable
oath.
Speaker. Most of these people who own these hospitals are doctors, and therefore they are within that same bracket. And you see, to the administrators, the moment they are giving these instructions, they are given from the bosses. Now, most of the people that we employ as CEOs of these public hospitals are also doctors. And Honorable Speaker, you even go to Mama Lucy, which is just here, you will find that some of the medics are the ones who might be pushing the patients away, and that I've seen from time to time. And I also understand them, that they're also frustrated because of lack of payment. They are not paid on time, and they are not paid well. I also understand their frustrations. But the most important thing is to preserve life. And just to divert a little bit, General Patton in the United States of America said that when you fight for your country, you do not need to die for your country. But as you fight for your country, and I will quote verbatim, seriatim, as you fight for your country, you let the other bastard die for his country. Because the moment you die for your country and you win, then how will you enjoy the spoils of war? Therefore, Honorable Speaker, it brings me back to the role of health in economic development. A sick child cannot go to school. A sick nation cannot be productive. And that clearly tells you, Honorable Speaker, that the first most important thing to do is to ensure that healthcare is affordable. And if not affordable, should be free. If not free, should be very affordable. You walk to Mama Lucy Hospital, Honorable Speaker, you lack 500 shillings for x-ray, a chest x-ray, it means that you are going to die. At the same time, Honorable Speaker, you lack 2,500 shillings for high-level x-ray again, you don't get medication. Then it means that we are losing thousands of Kenyan citizens who deserve to grow this nation. Now, the worst comes in, Honorable Speaker, that you have been admitted. You've sold everything. You are from the village, you are from the slums, you are even from a well-off family. You've spent all your earthly belongings in a hospital. Then eventually you lose your patient. Then the rubber meets the road. You lose the patient, you've lost everything. Then you are told that you can't take a dead body from the hospital just to go and bury. At that point, Honorable Speaker, you are mourning. Somebody has passed on. You are mourning. Then the hospital insists that we have to get hold, we have to detain the body. Honorable Speaker, in a High Court case of one Mary Nyagero versus Karen Hospital, 2016, the late Justice Majanja, in his own wisdom, may his soul rest in peace, stated clearly that there is no property in a dead body, that you cannot sell a dead body. There is no economic value in a dead body. And therefore, detaining a dead body further adds grief to the families. Honorable Speaker, for those who are staying in Nairobi, and Honorable KJ will tell you that transporting a dead body from Nairobi, Honorable Speaker, hiring a car, first of all, clearing hospital bills, you don't have the money, then making the arrangements to hire the car, to get a hearse or a matatu, to transport a body to the village, to burial. Honorable Speaker, it's like you are burying two people at the same time. Economically, you are buried, and at the same time, you are burying a loved one. So, Mheshimiwa Njeri, this bill deserves to be supported by all members of parliament, because from our own constituencies, people are suffering. And I would like to say that these hospitals, Honorable Speaker, we need to pass this bill to curb this unethical, immoral behavior, so that we can preserve the dignity of Kenyans. God bless you.
I will have the Honorable Basil, followed by the Honorable Mayaka, followed by the Honorable Sabina Chege, followed by the Honorable John Waweru, like that.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you to the craft of the bill, Honorable Jerry, the MP for Kirinyaga, who actually brought this very important bill. I agree with most of the contributors to the bill. This is a very important bill, Mr. Speaker. And as just Honorable Babu said very well, you have no value, economic value in a dead body. And when you detain a dead body, basically, Mr. Speaker, you are hurting already a bereaved family who are actually trying to mourn their beloved one. So, Mr. Speaker, this is a very timely bill. I would want to make reference to one of the one of the family in my constituency who had a body that was detained in the Kenyatta University Teaching, Referral and Research Hospital for about 3 months, Mr. Speaker. When I spoke with the CEO, she was extremely, I would say she was rude. She did not seem to have empathy with this particular family, Mr. Speaker. In fact, I wrote so many medical waivers to that particular hospital. I even asked them, are you operating as a public hospital or do you operate like a private hospital, Mr. Speaker? It was so annoying, a family that has already depleted their resources, Mr. Speaker, who could not even bury their loved one, were struggling to have their body released by Kenyatta University Teaching, Referral and Research Hospital, Mr. Speaker. And that's why when I saw this bill, I've said I'm not going to move. I'll wait till the time I'm given the chance to contribute, because it really affected me, Mr. Speaker, to see a situation where an hospital doesn't seem to sympathize as well as empathize with a family that has already lost their loved one, Mr. Speaker. I don't think, Mr. Speaker, there is any family that deliberately would decide they don't want to pay medical bills for their patients or even for their loved ones, Mr. Speaker. It is a situation that puts people in that circumstance, Mr. Speaker, where economically they are crippled. They are not able to raise anything, Mr. Speaker. Even some of them go to an extra mile to sell all their assets, Mr. Speaker. They hold numerous arambis, Mr. Speaker, which yield nothing. Like in this particular case, Mr. Speaker, we did all we could to raise about 4 million, Mr. Speaker, but we could not raise the money. And that's why it's important we criminalize a situation where the hospital would detain a body of a Kenyan or a patient that has already gone to the other planet, Mr. Speaker. When I look at this particular bill, I have a couple of other salient points which justify why I support this particular bill. And I want to say categorically the bill, in addition or in consideration that it also aligns with Article 43 of the Constitution, particularly Subarticle 1 down to Subarticle 3 on the right to health, Mr. Speaker. At the same time, it aligns with Sustainable Development Goals number 3, Mr. Speaker, which talks of good health and well-being, Mr. Speaker. I also want to emphasize that the bill does deter or mitigate arambis and fundraising that are done to support medical-related costs, Mr. Speaker. The bill also does strengthen the patient rights, because when patients have already used what they could and they are denied health services, Mr. Speaker, that is in principle is denying them the right to health. And this particular bill protects that particular right, Mr. Speaker. The bill also supports healthcare workers, Mr. Speaker, by tightening the legal duties and as well as clarifying roles and responsibilities, Mr. Speaker. At the same time, it does protect healthcare workers from abuse and unreasonable liabilities that arise within their practice, within the medical field or the medical related services, Mr. Speaker. Importantly, this particular bill, Mr. Speaker, in terms of making it operationalize and make it to really not make hospitals not to operate, I would recommend that we also put emphasis on appropriating adequate resources, Mr. Speaker, to support operation and administrative costs of health facilities, Mr. Speaker, particularly public health hospitals. This is going to make sure hospitals have no excuse at all to detain bodies as well as deny patients right to health, Mr. Speaker. So I urge members, just as Honorable Babu, who was here, who left, that it's important for all members of Parliament to support this particular bill and ensure that we promote health services, particularly to the most poor, who are the majority in this particular country. So with those few remarks, I support and I rest my case, Mr. Speaker.
Please give the order. Some of my honorables have been the Honorable Waweru.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for the opportunity to also add my voice to this very important amendment to the Health Bill of 2024. Honorable Speaker, I want to first take this opportunity to really thank the Honorable Njeri Maina, the County MP for Kirinyaga, for coming up with this very important bill, and doing so in a very interesting manner, Honorable Speaker. I was watching Honorable Njeri speak, and I was wondering if she was addressing a panel of judges, because it was very high level, and she looked extremely elegant while at it. So, Honorable Njeri, proud of you and congratulations. Honorable Speaker, this is an amendment that seeks to actually restore dignity to the human life. Because, Honorable Speaker, not only does it touch on a very important aspect, which is patients who go in for emergency services, because we all know at that particular emergency level, sometimes determines whether or not someone is alive. And the fact that it has to wait for a financial transaction to happen before someone gets medical attention, we have seen a lot of lives have been lost because of that. And therefore, Honorable Speaker, just the re-emphasize on that is very important. Secondly, Honorable Speaker, is the issue of persons who are detained, dead bodies that are detained. Because, Honorable Speaker, and as someone else has alluded to it, a dead body has no value. You cannot take it and go and sell. Even if you want to harvest organs, organs are harvested prior, not before life is completely lost. So these dead bodies have no value. But also, Honorable Speaker, the fact that we are criminalizing this is even more important, because if you look at the legislations that are in some of the countries like South Africa, the United States, in India, the legislations are very specific in terms of criminalizing the offense of any person in charge of a public health facility. And I like the use of the word a person in charge, because the buck stops with the leadership of that particular health facility. He or she must ensure that the people who are working in that medical facility are not undermining this law, because he remembers that he or she will be the one who will be charged. So this is a very important aspect, and it also just gives strength to the section 137 of the Penal Code, which hinders the declining of providing dead bodies for that particular case. Honorable Speaker, also the aspect of having alternative payment plans. I think that's very important, and Honorable Mukunji also alluded to this, so that we also don't have situations where people are taking advantage of this particular law, whose main aim is to restore dignity. But having a payment arrangement for people who do not have the means of making the payment right then and then is very important, so that people remember that at the end of the day, for the medical facilities and services that were provided, payment still has to be made, because these public service centers and health facilities also still need to run. So that's a very important aspect to avoid anyone who is trying to take advantage. And Honorable Speaker, if you look at the very many cases that we have had in our country of families where people have not been able to get the dead bodies of their loved ones for as long as even 20 years, it's very unfair. They don't even get to have an opportunity of a closure to give their beloved people a dignified burial, because they were not able to raise the medical fund. It's a very unfair aspect, and so this actually really helps the families, because for us in the African society, giving our loved ones a befitting farewell is a very important aspect of life in terms of its end and continuity of those ones who are still alive, for them to be able to have the comfort that they did give their dead person a befitting farewell. The other aspect also, Honorable Speaker, is the mothers with newborns. You find a mother with a newborn has been detained in hospital for long because you're not able to pay for that particular child. And actually, Honorable Speaker, there's no financial sense in it, because the more you're detained in hospital, the more you continue accruing the bills. In essence, this is someone who was not even able to pay those bills, and then you're adding to them another load. It does not make any financial sense. You'd rather allow the person to be released and then have a proper payment arrangement so that they can be able to continue with life outside there. Because you can imagine, Honorable Speaker, what it does to a newborn child, even if they're not able to speak or defend themselves, the kind of life that they're just in the hospital bed, they've not been able to go and stay at home. For even the mother who has just had that child, and they're not even able to leave the hospital, despite the fact that they do not have any medical issues with them, that they're just seated in a medical facility because they're not able to pay these particular fees. So, Honorable Speaker, I just want again to retaliate, and especially in terms of what the bill is speaking to, because the bill is very specific in terms of public health facilities, and number two, the aspects of criminalizing any offenders to this particular bill. I think those are two very important aspects to this particular amendment, and therefore, with those few remarks, I'd like to just register my support for this bill, and I thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. And Honorable Speaker, before I contribute, I want to congratulate my sister, Njeri, famously known as Gachagua, the Women Rep Kirinyaga County, for a well-thought amendment of this health.
What does that mean?
Gachagua is our Njeri, our small Njeri. Yes, so it's so it is to show that the Kirinyaga people and even the people who speak this language that I also speak like and admire her. We admire her leadership. She's courageous despite having a small body, but she's very, very courageous and at the same time are very smart, among the smartest women reps we have in our region and in Kenya. So congratulations, Honorable Njeri, for thinking about how we can be able to sort issues. And I always say, in this house, Mr. Speaker, we have solutions. Sometimes we look for solutions outside. Sometimes we'll go and complain to the people on what the government is not doing or what they ought to do. But we have a solution here. And I'm happy that this is, as she moved the motion, she said, it doesn't belong to any political divide. It belongs to every Kenyan. And Honorable Speaker, especially the members of this house, almost every day, every weekend, you get calls from the constituents asking for help. Mr. Speaker, I think I've written endless letters to hospitals, trying to beg CEOs, hospitals management to release dead bodies. Mr. Speaker, it is unfortunate that even having a constitution that is very clear on the right to life on Article 26, the human dignity on Article 28, the right to health on Article 43, and also emergency medical treatment, and even having the landmark ruling from High Court, the commercialization of health in Kenya is real. Honorable Speaker, last year I moved a motion that I had proposed that we, as the civil servants and also government officials, attend and to public health facilities, so that, Mr. Speaker, as we are there, we'll also interact with our constituents. We will see a person who is coming in and being turned away. We will also give back the money that we receive from the exchequer through funding our insurances. And there's not a small amount of money going back to the public facilities. Because the challenge we have today is that we have more private facilities than public facilities. These private facilities are funded by the money from Kenyan citizens, whereas we have public facilities funded by the exchequer, but we will find that the services given there, we have a long way to go. Whereas we know, Mr. Speaker, a facility like Kenyatta National Hospital has the best doctors. They have even performed best surgeries, that have not been done in any other facility in Kenya. But you still find, Mr. Speaker, that you'll find there are not enough doctors. Patients going there, they will take a very long time to be taken care of. Emergency section, Mr. Speaker, we find that Kenyans are still taken back. Mr. Speaker, what do we talk, when we say about emergency, what do we mean? It is not something that was not planned. Maybe a fire, there was a fire and cases of fire. Maybe there was an accident, Mr. Speaker. When such a person rushes, the person is taken to the nearest health facility. So to go and ask such a person, give me 200,000, 100,000, where will they get it from? Honorable Njeri, when she was moving, she mentioned about my friend, the late Betty Bayo. Well, she went to a facility and they have to wait from 3 a.m. to 6 a.m. for people to wake up so that they can be able to give the money for deposit for her to be admitted. And she was bleeding. It is sad we lost Betty Bayo, a very famous musician. But this is only one of the cases that were highlighted. Many people lose their lives when they are turned away. I think it is important that any health facility, even before we pass this bill, that when somebody comes in an emergency case, first save a life, then you can refer them to another facility if you see they don't have money. But you cannot just turn somebody away. That is even, somebody who is not even human, Mr. Speaker. And so we need to turn the eye from the health sector, from commercialization, to health that saves life and taking care of human beings. Mr. Speaker, when I was looking at the numbers of the body that were detained, I saw in 2024 Kenyatta National Hospital, there were 246 bodies of infants. I put myself in the shoes of a mother who walks in, waiting to go home with a baby. And maybe this baby passes on. On a small baby gets sick, you go to hospital and the baby passes on. Already the mother has the loss of that infant. And then you dare hold such a body because you want money from that mother. How inhuman can anybody be, Mr. Speaker? As we have said, a dead body has no value. Most of these families, and I know my colleagues have said there are other ways of finding out whether the family can be able to afford, or even giving, dates and times on when they can be able to come and pay. So the first problem, somebody came in or brought a relative, and then the person passes on. So it's already painful, the family is going through a loss. Very few Kenyans, even religiously, there's some religion that they want to bury their kin immediately. But if they are not able to get that body out, it will not just because they want to run away from paying. It can't be, Mr. Speaker. It is because they do not have. A hospital and a facility like the Moi Teaching Referral Hospital has a very clear, and I want just to say when I was the chair of health, we visited these facilities. The Moi Teaching and Referral Hospital has a very good social support. And so the social worker, by the time you walk in the hospital, by the time you even get admission, the social worker is able to tell that family at the end of the day they will manage to pay or they will not manage to pay. Here we are talking about dead bodies being detained. But Mr. Speaker, even people who get well, a mother delivers, then you are detained in a hospital, you have to share a bed or you have to sleep on the floor because that hospital wants you to pay. No one would want to stay in a hospital even after one day when you are discharged, Mr. Speaker. So even as we do this amendment, we need to look at the law again and see how do we then make sure, and especially the social department of the hospital, such that by the time a person is being released from hospital, if a person dies, the hospital already knows this family is needy. We cannot be able to push them further. Let them first go bury their kin, and they can commit themselves that when we get this amount of money, we can come and pay. If it's emergency, once life is lost, it is lost. But if you save a life, you can be able to give that person a chance to go back, maybe recover, go back to work, take a loan, or even get money, do harambe, and bring back. So I wish to urge, even as we pass the law, because laws are passed, Mr. Speaker, but the implementation of law is another thing. So if there is already a high court ruling on the same, why are we still having bodies detained in hospitals? So we need to have a way of these hospitals having to release these bodies so that the kin or the families can go and bury, and then they can be left with a clear way on how they can be able to sort the bill. Mr. Speaker, let me speak about SHA, because SHA has a component of emergency. And Mr. Speaker, if the SHA had covered only level 6, emergency happens and one is taken to the nearest facility. So we may need to relook, and I know the health committee members, some of them are here, if there is a way we can be able to look at what level is this emergency care being given at, so that even if you are rushed to the nearest dispensary, you are taken care of. If it's a level 1, level 2, level 3, because emergency is for somebody to be taken care of. Mr. Speaker, and I want just addition of one more minute, I want to say something about also emergency handling, because that is something that we also need to look as a nation. If somebody gets an accident today on Thika Superhighway, where do they get an ambulance?
1 more minute.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Where do they get an ambulance? So we should be having a shortcut, like the way I know if I want to apply for Nyota, I'll do *54#. So if there is an emergency that happens on whichever highway, Nakuru Highway, then how can those people access to emergency care so that there's an ambulance? Number 2, handling of our patients. The majority of Kenyans are... Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Majority of Kenyans are dying because once they get an accident, you find people with pangas trying to cut the cars, trying to pull people out. So they actually don't die because of the accident, but the handling. So once we have that number of emergency, we also need to have professionally trained people so that if there's an accident, it's not the business of the people who come to steal phones, to come and try to pull people away. So you pull somebody, you cut off the leg and leave it in the car. So that if there is an emergency and there is an ambulance, the people who are well-trained personnel can come and handle the accident victims and take them to the nearest facility. I thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to congratulate Honorable Njeri, and I support the amendment. Thank you very much.
The Honorable KJ.
Mr. Speaker, I must thank you and also wish you a happy new year and great leadership in this new session, as you always do by guiding this parliament with your very great leadership skills. Mr. Speaker, I also take this opportunity to congratulate and thank the county MP for Kirinyaga for coming up with this very crucial bill that is extremely timely at a time when country is considering its healthcare and healthcare legislation. I want to thank Honorable Njeri Maina, who is also in a way my county MP, let me say my in-laws county MP, and must thank her for such amazing legislative work in the House. And this is what Honorable Njeri, you are elected to do in this House. Mr. Speaker, this amendment is seeking to amend the Health Act Cap 241 of the laws of Kenya so that it is able to provide for access to emergency treatment and healthcare services prior to the payment of prospective medical costs by users. And Honorable Speaker, why this becomes an important piece of legislation is because we know that we are losing lives uncountable when Kenyans are not able to access emergency healthcare or healthcare at whatever level because of the requirements for payment ahead of medical care. Mr. Speaker, this becomes a critical concern for us who are in legislation, and especially at this time when we are very careful about what we are doing in the space of the medical services, up to and including the new legislation that this House has passed that has enabled for a new regime of management of healthcare in this country, up to and including the changes that we are making as a House in regard to how health is covered, even in its payment and insurance, which has been a journey that this 13th Parliament has walked. And so what the Honorable Njeri Maina brings to the House is not only timely, but very critical, very useful, not only to the people that she represents, the people of Kirinyaga, but also to the country of Kenya. I must also congratulate her for very ably moving these, and we can see that her training as a legal profession does bring some good value to this House. Mr. Speaker, my attention is drawn to her recommendation on the amendment of Section 2 of Cap 241, where, in part, she is seeking to amend this section by deleting the definition of emergency treatment and substituting it, therefore, for the following new definition, that emergency medical treatment means the necessary initial or immediate medical care that is administered to a critically ill or injured person to avert or prevent death, disability, unnecessary morbidity, or worsening of a medical situation. Mr. Speaker, the case of a known musician in the name of Betty Bayo has been brought up in this debate this afternoon. And Mr. Speaker, this is where legislation becomes a matter of life and death. That if these amendments that Honorable Jerry Maina is pushing today, chances are that we probably would be having this great and celebrated daughter of Kenya still alive if we had been able to have passed this ahead of the tragedy that occasioned the death of this amazing daughter of our country. Mr. Speaker, I want to support fully the proposal that Honorable Jerry Maina is making in this amendment of Section 2 of our Health Act. Mr. Speaker, there is also a perennial problem with our healthcare system in Kenya, where Kenyans are occasioned to a situation of double jeopardy, where a family has lost a loved one. And in addition to the loss of a loved one, they now have to again contend with bargaining and dealing with medical care providers so that they may be able to get the body of a lost loved one, for them to be able to inter the body or conduct the final rites. And Mr. Speaker, in these amendments that the Honorable Jerry Maina is proposing, I do see that she is proposing for us to make it an offense for public health care facilities to detain the body of a deceased person as a means of enforcing settlement of outstanding medical bills. Mr. Speaker, if this was the only amendment that she was proposing, I would have supported the bill totally. But I want to say that even the additional amendments that she's proposing are so useful. And in essence, Mr. Speaker, we have seen situations where families in their state of mourning are occasioned to a double jeopardy of again having to deal with financial offices in hospitals, Mr. Speaker. And the tragedy of it, as has been revealed with the enforcement of the new SHA regulations and laws that this House has passed, Mr. Speaker, we have been able to see the most amazing, and amazing here not in a spectacular way, in a saddening way, the most spectacular offenses in medical service providing institutions, where, Mr. Speaker, out of the SHA journey that we have walked so far, we are realizing that there are institutions that pretend to be offering medical services that have in their staff component more accountants than they even have medical practitioners. That there is an institution that will have employed 50 financial officers, whereas they only have 3 or 4 medical doctors and a handful of nurses, Mr. Speaker. Meaning that this is not even a medical providing institution, it is actually a financial institution. And as such, Mr. Speaker, we end up coming into the problems that we see, where the monies are put ahead or in front of, or given more value to life or even the feelings of families that are mourning, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I do see a proposal that is here proposing that we should be able to resolve the problem of patients or their relatives having to pay medical fees prior to admission and treatment. Mr. Speaker, this is critical. The emergency unit of any hospital should live up to just that word, emergency unit. That, Mr. Speaker, before the admission of any patient, any processing that should happen should be the vitals, the medical vitals that are undertaken for the patient to be admitted. But, Mr. Speaker, today, in most of our medical institutions, we realize that instead of us having to go for the vitals of the patient, we go to seek for their ability to pay medical bills that cannot even be accounted for because this patient has not even received any medical assistance. So how are you able to weigh what it shall cost for this patient to be treated? Finally, Mr. Speaker, I do see a proposal here by the Honorable Jerry Maina that is seeking to better how we handle the release of bodies, Mr. Speaker, which in itself is a critical thing that speaks even to our traditions and our being as a people. And Mr. Speaker, it must be said at this point that medical institutions today have borrowed so heavily from financial institutions that they have even borrowed from our being as Africans, Mr. Speaker. That the African did have traditional doctors. They had a way of taking care of their sick. And Mr. Speaker, they were so careful that even what was given to that person who takes care of the patient was not a payment. It was actually an agreement that was made to appreciate the practitioner. However, today, a hospital is not any different from a bank. But Mr. Speaker, I must say that we must seek in the proper place of the process of this bill to make sure that this covers not only the private institutions, but the public institutions, but also the private ones. Mr. Speaker, allow me 1 minute to also say that I must thank members of parliament, and up to and including the national government, NGCDF, in the Goreti South constituency. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I thank you. I was seeking this 1 minute to thank the members of parliament who were able to pass the laws that gave life to a new regime of management of health services and the payments of it, and also thank constituency development committees, up to and including the Dagoretti South NGCDF committee, who have been able to onboard very needy and most indigent cases of constituents who deserve cover under the share arrangement. And in the Dagoretti South, I did see that the committee was able to onboard almost 1,190 constituents who are now under the cover. And I do understand that these are the most indigent and the most needy. Honorable Njeri, this is a good piece of legislation. We shall support you. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Betty Sadagala, and thank you for your patience. Followed by the Honorable Nebat Murioki.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to also talk on this amendment, Health Amendment Bill 2024 by Honorable Jane Njeri Maina, MP for Kirinyaga County. This is a very important bill for us to amend, keeping in mind that it's touching on very sensitive issues, which includes medical and the care that is being accorded to the people who depart in this country. In fact, Mr. Speaker, it's very sad to notice that when somebody goes to hospital and it's an emergency case, somebody cannot be admitted because they have to pay admission fee, they have to bring in so many other things, complications, and this is an emergency case. Somebody has been brought in, maybe he's an accident victim, and he or she is not admitted because they have to pay admission fee. As Kenyans, every Kenyan has a right to medical attention. It beats the logic by denying such a wonderful or such a basic need that should be accorded to any Kenyan who is sick and any Kenyan who goes to hospital to seek for medical redress. I want to thank Jen Maina, Njeri Maina, for what she has done. She's given a whole explanation. She has done her research properly to ensure that none of both the patient and the hospital, none will complain. Mr. Speaker, it was sad one day there was an accident. We experienced an accident in Mbale, whereby we rushed a patient there who had gotten an accident. I was shocked. We were just running up and down, and there was no way that person could be admitted. So we decided, let's rush to another private hospital, but we were denied admission. They wanted us to pay admission fee. We had to go looking for money left, right, until the time that patient was admitted, and they had bled so much. Unfortunately, the patient passed away. The bill had accrued. They had rushed him to theater and other places. The bill had really accrued, and it became difficult. This made the family to go on even selling part of their land to ensure that they have paid the bill. So this making families are having it rough in this country. Families have to sell their property, they have to sell their houses, they have to sell their land, and land, in fact, like in my county, land, a family of 10, they have a 0.0 of an acre. Now, if part of it is sold to meet a hospital bill, it becomes terrible. It makes Kenyans live like squatters in their own country. So Maina has given us this case, this bill here, this amendment. I want to support it with all my strength. I want to say that Kenyans must get proper treatment. Kenyans should not be subjected to torture like a country that is so backward that cannot handle medical cases properly. When somebody is rushed to an hospital for heaven's sake, this person is supposed to be admitted. The private hospitals, I don't know why they put caveats, they can't admit people. Kenyans need to be admitted. The issue of bills can come later. Members of parliament are suffering. Right now, there are several dead bodies in the mortuaries in Kenyatta Hospital here, and even some for my county, Vihiga. One that has a 2.5 million bill that needs to be paid, and this person is dead, and is a family that cannot afford. Surely, if you detain such a body for real, where do you want these people to get the money to pay? This bill, this amendment will cure all these problems that we are experiencing, and a research has been done properly to ensure that the people who have private hospitals will not suffer, the Kenyans will not suffer. Kenya is registered under a World Health Organization. Why should Kenya behave independently away from other countries like the United States, India, Canada? They may be advanced states, but Kenya also, we are heading there. If we add on SHA, if SHA can pay some of these bills, I think we need to amend this bill so that once a family loses a beloved one, it is not easy. It is not easy for a family has lost a person and they have a bill of 5 million, paying it becomes a big problem. And also, the dead also need to be given a dignified life, a dignified send-off. When you keep a dead body in the mortuary for over 6 years, 5 months, or a year, that one beats the logic. It is very shameful. That one shows that we as a country, we don't care. It is very shameful. I'm talking from experience. In Vihiga, we have had bodies being in the mortuary for 6 years. Just cases here and there. So it becomes difficult. It makes this family, they can't sleep, they can't have peace. Their kin is being held there in the mortuary, and they are at home mourning. It becomes a thing that is really embarrassing, and it is very unheard of in this century. And in this, we are almost 60 years after independence. It is not the best thing that can happen to our people. Our people, and as all of us, we need proper care. We are entitled to hospitals. This morning I was seeing late morning on television. She went to a private hospital. Her tooth was just a tooth, something very simple that can be extracted and somebody goes home. It's not something that can make somebody be admitted, but wrong medication. This lady was mishandled. She has moved from hospital to hospital. So many operations being done, just a tooth extraction. I think the medical treatment in this country is terrible. It has to be looked into. It has to be looked into to save lives. You can't just lose somebody just because of a tooth extraction, for real. It is embarrassing. It is making the medics look like they have not qualified, and they are qualified. The quacks are using these other private entities, and I think the body in charge must whip a crack, and even the health committee in this parliament must ensure sanction the private hospitals that are becoming notorious, so that we see if they can be done away with. They may be assisting, yes, but they are also causing a lot of damage, chaos to our people. On that note, Mr. Speaker, let me just say this bill has been brought in at the right time. And this bill is a win-win situation. The people will win and the hospitals will win. I therefore support it. I support the amendment. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Well said. Member from Berry South.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me the opportunity to contribute on this very important amendment bill, health amendment bill. Mr. Speaker, I want to thank the member of Kirinyaga for bringing this bill at this time. Mr. Speaker, to me, when I read through this bill, I wondered why it never came earlier, because it is actually addressing what is affecting our constituents most. Our constituents are being affected by medical, this what we are calling emergency medical treatment and barriers. This is where the major problem is. And this is what we as MPs are being faced with each and every other day. Mr. Speaker, if we look at the basic definition of emergency, it means it's something unexpected, something unforeseen that can occur, to anybody, if I may extend it to that. And so, when somebody goes to the hospital and you find the right attention is not offered, that means emergency medical services are not available in that hospital. Mr. Speaker, I want to thank the member for bringing out the right definition for emergency medical treatment, which, Mr. Speaker, I read, that it means that this is the necessary initial or immediate medical care that is administered. Mr. Speaker, if it is allowed in the Act, I would request that the words immediate medical care be bolded or underlined for attention to be drawn to that, because this is exactly what is lacking. You go to almost every hospital, there's the emergency department, but do the patients get the immediate medical care when they get there? When you are asking the patient or whoever has come with the patient to first of all make a deposit, that means immediate medical care is not being administered there. And this is what happens in almost all hospitals. Mr. Speaker, I was in Aga Khan Hospital last week, and when I was being attended by the doctor just told me there is an emergency and he left me. I actually thank that doctor because I was left and the doctor went to attend to another emergency case. And this is what we mean by immediate. It requires immediate attention. We have lost a lot of lives in this country because we don't get immediate medical care. Somebody comes to a hospital and you are losing breath, you can't breathe, and you find that person will be kept there. You are not given oxygen, no first aid, and the hospital is just asking for payments first. Mr. Speaker, the same last week, I was called by one of my constituents at midnight that was in Nairobi hospital, and they had an emergency. And the patient could not be admitted because they could not be able to pay the deposit. So the son was raising deposit through the phone, calling people at midnight so that the patient can be admitted. Mr. Speaker, sir, this bill is very, very important. What I am putting here, Mr. Speaker, as my contribution is that we should add, in addition to criminalizing lack of this immediate, let me not call it immediate, let me call it, as we criminalize denial of emergency services, we should also criminalize delayed attendance to emergency services, Mr. Speaker. Because the main thing which is affecting us mainly is delayed attendance to emergency services. Mr. Speaker, some of these people who are taken as emergency patients, they are taken by well-wishers. You are driving yourself on the road alone and you have an accident. Who is going to attend to you? This is a well-wisher. And when you are taken to a hospital and possibly you are unconscious and they are asking for deposit first, who is going to pay this deposit? The very person who is unconscious, who requires immediate medical attention, is the one who is supposed to pay, because the well-wisher cannot be able to pay. He doesn't even know you. He's just trying to save life. Mr. Speaker, I think this bill, I'm saying it should have come much earlier because a lot of people have lost their lives. When we come to the poor in our community and they are made or subjected to paying these deposits first, Mr. Speaker, we are well aware that they are not able to pay. And because of that, they cannot get medical services. Life has no price. And if life was to given a price, it would be so high that none of us living would be able to pay the price of life. And because of that priceless tag on life, then we should treat saving life differently, that everybody should be concerned and be able to save life at whatever level. Mr. Speaker, for this bill to be applicable and properly, we should have emergency services at all levels in our hospitals, starting from the first level, level 1, 2, 3, up to the highest level. What am I saying here, Mr. Speaker? When it comes to emergency services, you don't have a choice. You go to the nearest medical facility. And that nearest medical facility should be able to address your situation until you are stable. Unless if it requires certain services like ICU, which may not be available at every level. And so, Mr. Speaker, we need to regulate this. All health facilities, they should be regulated as far as emergency medical care is concerned. These days, if you take just an injured patient to this level 1, level 2 dispensaries, you find even simple things like gloves to attend to the patient, they are not available. You are meant to go and buy them from the local market, from the chemists. Injections to make the patients maybe not have the pain as they are attended to. They are not available. This is why I'm requesting and putting it forward to you, Mr. Speaker, sir, that we should have a level of regulation whereby every health facility should be having what is required to attend to emergency services. In addition to that, Mr. Speaker, let also the charges be regulated for emergency services, because the patient has got no choice. let the emergency services be regulated to enable the patients to be stabilized so that they can make their own choices as to where they want to be attended thereafter. Or even the caregivers who attend to these patients. So, Mr. Speaker, as we go through this bill, we need to bring in some level of regulation, regulating the health services which are to provide emergency services, and also regulating the charges so that the patients, when they are attended, now they are free to make their choices as to where they want to be attended. Mr. Speaker, when it comes now to the dead, it is really shocking and even shameful, if I may put it so. When somebody has to be detained in hospital and you are dead, you don't know whether you are there, it's other people actually who are being tortured, not the dead person. It has been said here that there's no price for a dead body. So even if you detain it, if we were to be inhuman, we would just say, kana hiyo, stay with it. Because it has got no value. So when we criminalize this, we are only saving the torture and agony to the owners or to the relatives of the dead person. Mr. Speaker, actually when I was coming here, there is a barrier in my constituency which has been postponed this day, this morning, because they are not able to get the body, because they cannot pay the bills. Mr. Speaker, I support this bill. I have run out of time. I support this bill, and I feel we should all support it so that our people should stop suffering. They should get emergency services as required, and should it come that God has called one to heaven, then they should put to rest at the right time. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Thank you. The Honourable Member for Narok North, the Member for Kipipiri.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to support the Health Amendment Bill 2024. And before I contribute, I think I need to thank Honorable Njeri, MP Kirinyaga, for this articulate amendment bill that is before us. And it has come at the right time, because the issues that were in the amendment bill were addressing detainment of bodies and also the emergencies. And if you want to see what the two issues are, just visit one of the referral hospitals. When you visit these referral hospitals, the first thing you see is patients that come seeking for help because of the emergencies that they have come across. And when you look at these patients, everybody is crying at its own corner and nobody is attending them. One, because there are no facilities. Because in order to provide health services, facilities must be stocked with drugs, equipment, and health personnel. And all these three issues lack at the referral hospitals. And it's unfortunate because health in Kenya is a devolved function. And I think these functions were devolved when people were not ready. Because health is so critical that it needs a lot of attention. But what we see is different from what we thought we were going to get. Because the facilities, the referrals have facilities, and the county governments are not ready to do what we wanted them to do, or Kenyans are waiting for. Because when you talk about dead bodies, yes, you will see that most of the referral hospitals or the health facilities that we have in our constituencies, some of them, people are looking for money, then they don't care about the situation of the patients or the dead ones. They will look for money, and if you cannot pay it, then you are forced to remove the body to where you want to take it, even before you are ready to bury the body. These are issues that we have come across. Last week I had an issue like that one in my constituency, where the family was not ready to bury their relative, because they didn't have money. And here, where the body was charging every day money, additional money, and at the end of it all, the parents or the relatives must pay the hospital or they pay the mortuary before they remove the body. So we had to do a fundraising to remove the body from where it was to another facility, to give the relatives time to prepare for the burial. Then I think when you look at that, the torture that was there made me involve myself there to help the relatives so that they could bury their relative the way they wanted it, or give the relative a well demanding and needing and what makes them happy, to make sure that they bury their relative the way they wanted it to be. When you look at the emergencies, these people die at the referral hospitals there. Nobody cares of what is happening. So I think it is time for us to look at what is happening in these health facilities. When you talk of SHA, I think it is also time, because there are those hospitals that don't respect the SHA. When you take your relative there, or you take a patient to a place like these facilities like Kijabe, they don't. They tell you to pay before they accept your relative. So I think it is time we look at what is happening in these facilities. Otherwise, I support the amendment, and I just want to urge other members to support it, because it has come at the right time. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I start to support my small sister, Gachagua, for this very good bill, and I wish to say that it is a time in time. Honorable Speaker, I wish to agree with all the speakers who have spoken before me, from emotional distress of the grieving families, implication of the law, especially following the High Court as it had pronounced itself on this matter, in terms of ethical concern, by way of denying the dead the dignity. And I may not want to repeat all that, because I'm in agreement with all my colleagues. But Honorable Speaker, I wish as a House we look at this bill from another angle. Maybe this bill is calling us as a nation to come and consider how to make healthcare affordable. Not purely affordable, as we all know healthcare can really be expensive, but on specifics. For instance, the emergency cases. And Honorable Speaker, I'm taking this practice, as it often may be a result of systematic issues, possibly from inadequate, not possibly, but I am convinced is from inadequate healthcare funding. So it is time as a country we look at healthcare holistically and consider the national hospitals, particularly the referral hospital, the county hospitals, we have them in our counties, and consider sufficient funding. Honorable Speaker, I think this bill is also calling us for better insurance coverage. As we speak about government hospitals, you may go broader and speak of general insurance, because even when a patient wants to attend a private hospital and a patient has even a private insurance cover, in the event maybe the cover is not paid or there is that concern of confirming, we have found patients dying at the emergency doors. So if it is SHA as a government, I think it is time we look close by close and possibly adjust to make it give the access, particularly to the emergency cases and even in matters of death. Honorable Speaker, Yes, I take this opportunity to thank all members and friends who supported me when I lost my dad, I think last month. I want to identify a case that I experienced. Something like dialysis. You are informed by SHA that it will only cover 2 dialysis sessions, and the patient need maybe 3 or 4 sessions per week. This means if the patient will undergo 2 sessions, the patient and the family has to look for more funds because dialysis may be a process that is diagnosed by the doctors to be maybe 12 sessions or such. And I found it very pathetic because in the same hospital, I was finding some of the constituents from my constituency who could not even afford. So you are there distressed by your own parent, but now again you become distressed by the constituency. These harambes are happening every day, and I'm sure 99 or 100% of all these members are participating in these harambes. So, as we speak of ethical issues, legal issues, emotional distress, I want to invite this House, particularly the Committee on Health, to look at the angle of how we can improve the insurance coverage, particularly SHA for government or general public, but also invite even the other insurance, the private owners, because they can improve their package to cover these emergencies. Honorable Speaker, having said that, I wish also to speak or repeat what one member spoke before I entered in the House because I was just within the compound. And he said, I think it's Dr. Nyikal or Dr. Pukose, that it seems like we made a mistake by devolving healthcare. And I think many members have that feeling because majority of the charges we find are from the county. But since we already made this decision, Honorable Speaker, and the healthcare is already devolved, and going back to reverse that may be very impossible considering the Constitution and all that process, I think we should also look at it through Senate at the county level. Because as we improve Kenyatta National Hospital and other national referral hospitals, the counties can also improve their main county hospitals. So it is funding. As we speak of free education, let us also now speak of free healthcare or affordable healthcare. Affordable may be precise. Honorable Speaker, with that, I wish to conclude again thanking all members for supporting me, registering my presence in the House, following the allegation from the majority leader, I'm not in the House. Honorable Speaker, you know, even when I was the chair, I was among the members who are always in the House very early to support this House. Also, I tell him women issues should be left to women issues. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. The member for Githunguri, followed by the member from Mbeere North.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to support this wonderful bill introduced by my young sister, Honorable Jerry, the member for Kirinyaga. When I heard that Honorable Jerry has brought this amendment, I was very excited. And she knows that I had lobbied her earlier to support me on my geriatric bill that was speaking to matters maternity health care, and more specifically on issues geriatric. Mr. Speaker, I was here earlier and I stepped out and I had to come back because I needed to register my, sorry, Speaker.
What is geriatric?
Geriatric is matters to do with childbirth. Matters to do with childbirth. And I came back because I really wanted to put my voice on this issue. I have been very, very vocal on matters maternity health care, Mr. Speaker. And it pains me when I see a hospital facility refusing to admit a mother in labor, knowing very well that babies cannot wait. Babies cannot wait for an excuse to look for deposit for a hospital bed. They cannot wait for a doctor to be called on call. Babies cannot wait for anybody to raise a logbook, a title deed, or anything else that they're asking as security in our hospitals. Mr. Speaker, The many times I've received distress calls from mothers who have been abandoned at the reception of hospitals, both public and private, is alarming in this country. Thousands of children, and when I talk about children, Mr. Speaker, I'm speaking about infants who have rights, have been detained in our facilities in the name of you have to pay. So I keep asking, when you retain an infant, a three-day-old infant in a hospital, what is the intention? To sell the baby and recover the money? Why should they retain babies, newborns in hospitals? When you retain a dead body, what is the intention? What do you expect to get? Sell the dead body and get the money? I mean, we have to be realistic and we have to be practical. This must stop. And Honorable Jerry, how I wish that this bill can be adopted as a government bill by whoever, or a committee bill if it is possible. We move it in the corridors of this nation and make sure before the lapse of this parliament, this bill has become a law. It is unfortunate, Mr. Speaker, if you look at the date of this bill, it was published in 2024. We are now in 2026. It means we don't take care, we don't give priority to such serious issues. I'm even worried, Madam Jerry, Mheshimiwa, because I'm a senior member here, I can tell you.
Order. This address is to the Speaker.
Oh, sorry. Mr. Speaker, I am worried that this bill, being a private member's bill, we might get excited in this house and talk about it and support it overwhelmingly like we have had. But before it goes to the Senate and comes back for, for a committee of the whole house and all what happens ahead, I'm worried it might not see the light of day. So I'm appealing to the members of this house who belong to the health committee, those that belong to the budget committee, those that can be able to help us in the leadership to adopt this bill, either as a committee bill or a government bill, so that we can pass it unanimously. I have a lot of interest in it because last weekend, Mr. Speaker, I was in my constituency and I attended 2 fundraisers, one in Mutahi village and another one in Gathanji village. And shockingly, the issues that were in one of the Harambee, one of the fundraisers that I attended, was a pending bill of 580,000. The body is still, even now, detained in Kenyatta Referral Hospital. Interestingly, when I interrogated the bill, I was shocked that these hospitals are actually even adding their own money on top of services rendered to patients. An injection that cost 350 shillings in Ruiru was being billed 1,385. A simple injection. Because these parents, most of them are not able to interrogate the bill. So an injectable, just an injection, just because it was done in the ward, it moves from 385 shillings to 1,300, Mr. Speaker. If you look at those bills, sometimes people die, the bodies are detained in hospitals, but they accrue bills every day. So should I ask, do dead bodies pay rents? Are they supposed to be paying rent? Is it that we are paying for services rendered or we are paying for accommodation in the hospitals' compounds? Look at the bed charges that they are charging, Mr. Speaker. Why would you ask a patient to deposit 80,000 for a bed? Even a bed in a 4-star hotel does not cost us 80,000, Mr. Speaker. So I think this is a very serious bill, and I think we need to do something to make sure that it passes as soon as possible. And Honorable Jerry has done her part, and we support her irrespective of the political positions, because this bill is not Honorable Jerry Minor's bill, it's a Kenyan bill. I stand to support it. Thank you.
Is it Wamudende or Mudende? This is your chance, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I also rise to support, and to many members who sometimes call me Njeri. Njeri is a lady, and I'm Jeru. Yeah, I get that sometimes, especially from other parts of Kenya. I rise to support the honorable member. This is a very good bill. And listening to the conversations, we agree that healthcare needs to be relooked. We have a situation where we have been focusing so much on the curative aspect of healthcare, ignoring the preventive aspect. So our healthcare is really expensive. We've been funding healthcare, but the money is not going, has been going to curing the sick. That's the curative part. And this is quite expensive. It's just now that government is introducing preventive healthcare model by engaging even community health promoters, that the benefits may come much later. Now to the bill, it's really timely. We need to stop this. I must say, I had members say dead bodies have no value. Indeed, they have to the bereaved, maybe to the hospital, no. But we have to respect the dead. We have to have compassion for the bereaved families. And it's really a bad situation to put relatives who are mourning, instead of allowing them to continue mourning and get closure through even a burial process, as is our custom, you hold the body, and this is really not right. Now, I think we should also look at what pushes these hospitals to hold the dead bodies. I will not defend these hospitals, but we need to look at that. What compels them to do this? How can we assist so that, like some members were proposing, is there a way we can have a proposal that is, like even installment payments that can be guaranteed so that these hospitals do not resort to that? The other thing, as members, we encouraged our constituents, our people, to register for SHA. I heard a member here say that as civil servants, we pay monthly, and for hustlers, they have a one-off pay. It's not correct. Actually, the president launched Lipa SHA Pole Pole. That is for hustlers. So we are continually giving wrong information to the members of the public. We do not have a very robust social health care scheme, and then we end up with the challenge that brought the spirit to this bill, which is very important. But as members, let us encourage our people to register for SHA. In fact, for me, just now, I responded to a message, a distress call, and the first question I always ask, in Bere North, have you paid for SHA? I'd rather help you pay for SHA than pay a big hospital bill later. The other thing is on doctors' charges. I know it's a really emotive issue, and unfortunately, as doctors become better, with the more experience, they end up charging more. And I think it's more of a willing buyer, willing seller, or willing healthcare provider and willing service recipient. So I would want us to be careful when we discuss doctors' charges, because we may kill innovation. There are some doctors we pay for medical conferences to be updated. They want to give you the best healthcare, and they will not charge you the same as the same doctor who, since graduation, maybe has not gone, to update. Although I must thank KMPDC, because they have CPD points, they have CMEs to encourage doctors to go for that. So I want to urge this House to consider really funding healthcare. I know it's devolved, but we need to fund our healthcare so that even as we talk of waiving bills, then we have a recourse for these institutions, because they will waive bills. Again, patients will go for healthcare for emergency, requiring emergency service, and the hospital says we have no gloves, we just have a doctor, and the doctor cannot really respond without the tools of trade. So we have to look at a way where we package this to protect the patient, to protect the dignity of dead bodies, and also protect these institutions. I support this bill, and I want to encourage us, because this conversation is really, most members I can see have had an input on this, and we want our healthcare to be the best. And I can say we have a good, as government, government is putting measures to ensure that we get there. Even the referral system, whereby, like in my constituency, I encourage a patient. Even just the other day, a patient came to me. They had a tumor. I told them the best thing for you to do, you have SHA, go to your dispensary, follow the referral system. When you follow the referral system, SHA takes care of your bills. But what some patients do, they go to the referral institution, and that's why you have cases where patients will tell you, SHA is paying this amount and I have to foot the other bill. So we really need to educate the public, and that's our role, so that SHA succeeds. It is in our interest. We are carrying so many burdens. I'm just new in this house. I can imagine what you have gone through. There are two members of parliament who are here for a longer time, even 2-3 terms. If you are shouldering all these bills that I've encountered in the few months after election, I really say we need to support SHA so that some of these issues can be addressed. I support this bill. It is timely, and I congratulate the member, and I hope that by the time the term for this house expires, we pass this bill. I support.
Member for Kericho, who are the member for the Honorable Jane Kiara?
Okay, thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. And Honorable Speaker, on the onset, I want to support this very, very important bill. That is the Health Amendment Bill of 2024 by my colleague and my friend, Honorable Njeri Maina. Thank you for bringing this very, very important amendment. And even before I talk about the bill, I want to thank the member who has just spoken. And I want to thank him. As much as he's saying he's new in the house, he has actually added value. And it is not only for the first-timers or those who have been here for long who feel so much about the bill, about the issues of paying for our constituents. It is all of us who feel for the same. So, Honorable Speaker, I want to say that this bill is so important, but it has delayed from 2024 up to date. It has taken long. As much as, and we appreciate the fact that it has been a process, and especially the SHA, changing from NHIF to the SHA, which addresses quite a number of issues. There's still this gap that we have here, and I am so happy that this bill is addressing the issue of prepayment before emergency medical treatment is provided. Honorable Speaker, I'm saying this because we actually have so many people who lose their lives, maybe in a scene of accident, and mothers who go to deliver and they are not attended. Some of them in the emergency, some in the scene, and others in the emergency area because they are waiting for the bill to be put. And it is very, very sad that lives are lost, yet we are supposed to save lives. And Honorable Speaker, you will also realize that many of these, the patients who go through this process or who actually serve at this come from humble background. The only thing they have is a piece of land, especially from where I come from in Kericho. But this piece of land is not even in their names. The title goes to even 4 generations behind.
Now, who is this now? The Honorable Osero. Is that you?
Okay, thank you, Honorable Speaker. So, in other words, Honorable Speaker, it takes very long, it takes days, even to admit a patient. It takes hours even to take them to, if it is an emergency, for cases of surgery, because they have not paid anything. And this is where we lose lives. Others even caused to a point of being disabled because they have not been saved early enough. So, Honorable Speaker, Article 26 of the Constitution tells us about the right to life. And if, Honorable Speaker, we have, every member of this country has right to life, then it means lives must be saved. And this bill is actually sorting that one out. And Honorable Speaker, it is also very, very important to note that this bill addresses the issue of, it restores dignity even in death. I'm saying this especially when it is addressing the issue of dead bodies being retained in hospitals. Mr. Speaker, this has affected me personally, and especially cases where we are asked to go for fundraisings. We raise money. I remember last year in one of the wards, Kapsoit ward, I attended a fundraiser, and members of the community did fundraisings for many, many months, and they were not able to raise 6 million. And then, Honorable Speaker, this mom was retained in hospital for days and days. We did fundraisings. I had to go around ministries asking our PSS, our CSS to help. So it is very frustrating. It is also affecting families. It is shameful. It also takes a lot of time, takes a lot of resources, knowing that in my community, Honorable Speaker, we actually respect the death. So if they stay for even 4 months, nobody will go to work. Nobody will go to the farm, especially the immediate family members. They have to stay around until the death is buried. So it is actually something that has affected many. And Honorable Speaker, as I've said, depositing of title deeds will only influence to some extent, but noting also that the mortuary fee is not also paid by SHA is another frustrating issue. So the bills will accrue every day in, day out. And it is not only affecting the family members, the community is affected because nobody would actually feel lifted or free until the dead are buried, Honorable Speaker. So in this case, I want to appreciate this bill and say that it is important to have these amendments done so that even the dead are buried honorably. Time is also of essence. It is also important to know that even hospitals will have their rights preserved. Honorable Speaker, as I say this, I want to also put across this point that health being devolved, our counties must do something, and especially in cases of providing medical attention and medical services, and especially equipping the ICUs. This is where we have issues. Equipments should be provided, drugs should be provided, and especially in the level 4, 5, and 6 where necessary. Otherwise, we are losing lives. Mothers have also lost their babies because of the emergency CS that is not done. The doctors also need a fee. And Honorable Speaker, you can't tell our people that you cannot afford to go to a private hospital, and therefore, can you go to the public? Because they are so concerned, they want to save their loved one, and they are not able to pay. So this has caused a lot of issues and a lot of chaos within us. It has also led to separation of families. A mother feels maybe the father of this child or whoever is not actually doing much, doing enough, yet in the real sense they are not able to do. So I want to support this bill and say that it should move as fast as possible. And Honorable Njeri, I I wish you can advance it, and so that as much as it is a private bill, it can be adopted in this house, and I request and ask the members and appeal to them to support this bill because it will save all of us, Honorable Speaker. With that, I truly support and thank you very much.
Member for Naivasha.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this chance to support this amendment bill by Honorable Jerry Maina. At the same time, congratulate her. Jerry listens to the ground, so she knows the problem that the country is facing. On the onset, Mr. Speaker, we must agree that our health sector is collapsed. It's collapsed, starting from payment of doctors, equipping hospitals. Mr. Speaker, we may pass this bill, but as long as the hospitals are not equipped, the doctors are on the streets demonstrating because they have not been paid, we must first and foremost think where the rain started beating us. I've heard members talking about SHA. I still believe SHA is not working. Yes, they have to deposit 6,000 for 1 year. Honorable Mudende telling us that the president said that you can pay pole pole. I want to tell him this is what, Mr. Speaker, we used to call roadside declarations, because government works with gazettement or policy papers, not on the street. Mr. Speaker, detaining dead bodies is the worst thing that you can do to a family. Mr. Speaker, I know there is a body that was detained in KU for 7 months from my constituency for a very poor family to pay 9 million. They raised funds. It was never enough, not once, not twice. Eventually, Mr. Speaker, I wrote to the CEO. I'm not a family member. I told them, bury that body. I don't have the consent of the family, but it was so painful. Eventually, the body was released when they realized there was no money, more money coming. Mr. Speaker, there was another one. They had done 3 harambes, and the money was not enough, and their title was in the hospital. I wrote to MP Shah, thank God, they got the title released. So if it is not flowing, somebody has to step in to get things to work. We must agree that we have a problem. Members of this parliament, we are all doing those harambes, and we have done them for the longest. So if there are people who should support this Honorable Jerry's bill, it's members of this parliament. It's so painful when a patient has been discharged, but they cannot leave the hospital because of an unpaid bill. Yet, the bill keeps on accruing. These are the things we say. If the health sector is not properly administered, members of parliament and families are going to suffer. Mr. Speaker, I remember when Honorable Sabina Chege was the chair of health. I used to call her all the time to get bills waived. You know, Kenyatta Hospital is a referral hospital. And what happens is that a patient is sent to Kenyatta with the family not knowing, because the patient requires specialized treatment. So they are brought to Kenyatta. Then they die in Kenyatta. The patient, the family, to get that body out of Kenyatta is another burden to the family. Mr. Speaker, we have had very many cases where patients go, they are treated, they require medicine, but they have to buy it outside the hospital because there's no medicine in the hospital. Services like X-ray, they have to take it from outside. That's what I'm saying. This is a sector that needs overhaul and being looked after. Mr. Speaker, we have had cases where a patient has to be referred to Kenyatta, as there's no ambulance. Or if it's there, it has no petrol. We have all sorts of problems in the medical sector. Mr. Speaker, emergency. Sometimes there's nothing these doctors can do because there are no equipment. A patient has come, they need this item, they don't have them. So that's what I'm saying. We need to overhaul the health sector. Pay the doctors well, equip the hospitals, so that an emergency is an emergency and it can be treated as such. Because we have had kids or mothers delivering at the casualty. Not once, not twice. We have had mothers lose their babies and they cannot take them home because again there is a bill to be paid. So it's double punishment for families. Here you are, you can't pay that money, yet the person, your patient, is dead. Mr. Speaker, I have a harambe like this that we have to do tomorrow of a body in the hospital. These hospitals also have a problem. You call the doctor and you tell them, please, I want a waiver. Mheshimiwa, what do we do? We have to run this institution because there's no money. And then during these very hard times, economic times, when families have no even food to eat, and unfortunately, a disease knocks on the door, maybe that emergency. We are living in a very sad state in matters of health. So, Mr. Speaker, I will join all of us in supporting this bill and pray that it sees the right of the day, but the government needs to rethink the health sector. Pay doctors well, equip hospitals, and do what it has to do. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Member for Gunja, followed by member for Funyula.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, thank you for allowing me also to air my voice on this bill, the Health Amendment Bill 2024. Let me start, Honorable Speaker, by thanking Honorable Jerry Maina, Kirinyaga County Member of Parliament, for bringing such a wonderful bill. I think it is timely as members, we really need to support it. And I think the bill, the amendment measures on two critical areas. That is one, on the emergency treatments at the hospitals and also the retention of bodies in the morgues. Mr. Speaker, from the previous debaters or members of parliament, it is clear that detaining bodies, one, becomes a bit traumatizing to the families of the bereaved, and secondly, that it doesn't add value, really, economic value, to either the hospital or the economy of the country. Mr. Speaker, I think in making such amendment, it will really go a long way in even helping us as the elected leaders in trying to even manage ourselves. Because realize that, Mr. Speaker, that when such kind of unfortunate events confront these families, they reach out to us to come out and support them economically. Mr. Speaker, for a family to have one of their own in a morgue basically means that they are so much incapacitated financially. So we really haven't got no reason whatsoever to continue, kind of punishing them in such a manner. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, I also wanted to air my voice on the issues of the emergency treatment or the emergency services, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, if you go to most of these hospitals, you will clearly be able to notice a section within the hospital clearly indicated as emergency wings or emergency entrance. And to make this practical, Mr. Speaker, I think it's only prudent if that could also be, can be done in action. Mr. Speaker, there are incidences where you find a situation, for example, where there's an accident and a patient is rushed to an hospital and he or she ends up not being attended to simply because of non-payment of the fee that is required at that particular point, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, an emergency is an emergency. And in most cases, we would always find you or me or anybody else for that matter not prepared. So punishing one or not able to attend to a patient simply because one is not able to, to make payment at that particular time, Mr. Speaker, is really unfortunate. I think this bill will go a long way in ensuring that we get medical attention because everyone has a right to life, Mr. Speaker. So this bill by my sister, Honorable Njeri, is timely, if you ask me. And we shall support it, and we also ask members of this Honorable House to come in handy and give it the full support that it deserves. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. I beg to support. Thank you.
Thank you. Member for Funyula.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for this opportunity to contribute to this Health Amendment Bill 2024 by our colleague, Honorable Jane Jerry Maina. Honorable Speaker, the issue of medical cover, the issue of health, and the rest has remained and always remain a very emotive and at times emotional draining subject any given day. Honorable Speaker, on the face of it and its matters of principle, this amendment is timely, is called for, and could, if well thought out and implemented, probably solve some of the most harrowing experiences many families go through. Honorable Speaker, as I'm seated here, I have received a case of a fellow called Devero, who has been detained at St. Mary Hospital, Langata, since early January. Because of a bill, now stands at 300 and something. The family has raised 200 and something. Unfortunately, by the time he was being admitted, he had not yet paid for SHA. He has been detained, and actually, as a result of detention, he has contracted other illness, compounding the problem that's already compounded. Honorable Speaker, unfortunately, this bill might just be peppering on the underlying issues in the health sector in this country. Because, one, hospitals detain bodies as alien, but many of you, the lawyers, have said a dead body is of no value. They do so because they have already spent money to treat that particular patient. Unfortunately, the treatment did not meet the desires of the Almighty God, and the Almighty God has called their person. So we need to look at it from this other side. Secondly, hospitals refuse to admit patients under emergency cases because it will cost them money to treat that patient, and without any deposit or a form of payment, it brings this issue. And that's why I'm saying the bill is well-intentioned, but the elephant lies elsewhere. Honorable Speaker, when you were replacing NHIF, when SHA was rammed through our throat here, it was touted as if it's the panacea, the all-time solution to all problems in the medical sector. We were told there is an emergency medical fund, that if you are faced with an emergency, the emergency fund will step in and get you treated. We were told there is universal health care for those indigent who cannot afford, that the government called Kenya will pay for them so they get medical insurance cover. Lest do we know that it was all a pack of lies, and that's why it has to force the young lady to come with a bill here, knowing very well that it has got a challenge in implementing. Honorable Speaker, and probably it's out of that fear that she has restricted this bill to public sector players. And me and you, Honorable Speaker, we know very, very well the public hospitals that you see dotting all over this country is just hospitals by the name. That's just a mere shell. When you have a proper emergency, a serious emergency, I can assure you, Honorable Speaker, you will unlikely to get that treatment in the local county government hospitals. They do not have the facility, they don't have the personnel. The personnel who are there are so demotivated, they really have no business in saving lives. Honorable Speaker, what's going to happen? An emergency patient will rush to hospital. Whom will we find? We'll not even find a clinical officer. We'll probably get a public health officer who has been left in the corridors to take records, or a records officer. Essentially, we might want to bill it as the best bill, but as my colleagues have said, we must deal with underlying fundamental issues. The only fundamental issue that you can deal here is to ensure that every Kenyan of whichever walk in life has a good medical cover to underwrite medical bills. Without this, Honorable Speaker, I can assure you, we are even going to make these hospitals in rural areas to get even worse, to an extent that even when you are dying, you say, I would rather die in my house rather than go to a certain hospital where death is confirmed and it was going to happen. Honorable Speaker, there is a joke somewhere, and I don't want to mention, because today is a day of long knives. There is a joke somewhere that you rather not take me to a certain hospital, because if you take me there, I will die. And indeed, many people have died out of negligence, out of nothing. So, Honorable Speaker, the infrastructure required to meet the definition of emergency medical treatment as prescribed by our colleague is not there. And this country, both at national level and the county level, has no intentions at all, or has no desires to make sure that we deal with that matter. Because immediate means the necessary initial or immediate medical care that's administered to a critically ill or injured person to avert or prevent death, disability, unnecessary morbidity, or worsening of a medical situation. If you have a heart attack, Honorable Speaker, in your house, you need an ambulance with oxygen to take you to hospital. I don't know how many ambulances you have in Siaya County. I know in Busia County, they're very countable. I don't know how many. And many times, they may not even have oxygen tanks in those ambulances. So, Honorable Speaker, even by the time you are being taken to that emergency facility, you are already dead. Honorable Speaker, even basics like snake bites, which many times is an emergency case, because if you are bitten by a snake that's extremely poisonous, by the time you travel from, for example, from Bumbe to the nearest health facility at Seaport that has got semblance of a medical doctor, that about 20 or 30 or so minutes, if there is no emergency at the village, you are dead. You are dead. Honorable Speaker, community health volunteers have gone in this country for many months without payment of their dues. They are demoralized, demotivated, have no longer desire to work for the benefit of the people. We call upon, as we pursue this bill, probably it is important, Honorable Speaker, as a country, we need to spend less time on political rhetoric and really solve the problems of this country. Honorable Speaker, the amount of money we are wasting in so many of these endless movements in this country, doing useless things, why can't we pay for indigent so that everybody has got medical cover, has got insurance cover, they can go to any hospital of their choice, get treated in the events of emergencies. Honorable Speaker, there's nothing there can't be anything more important than medical cover. We thought by devolution we'll have solved the problem, but probably we devolve more problems than devolving solutions. I support the bill in principle, but I just want to assure you the long-term objective of the bill will never be achieved until we sort out the fundamental issues bedeviling the health sector in this country. Thank you for the effort and wish you well.
Thank you. Member for Imenti Central, then followed by the member for Teso South.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to support the Herald Amendment Bill 2024. And I thank Honorable Jerry for taking this opportunity and to have that human feeling that something in the society has been going wrong, especially when it comes to retaining of the bodies in the mortuaries, of which really it's very tormenting to the families of the deceased. Honorable Speaker, we cannot forget that when it comes to the elderly sector, nobody would wish at any given moment to go through an hospital whereby he is going to be ignored because he has not paid the initial fees for the person to be admitted in the hospital. A number of us, especially those who are in this house, have been called at the root hours. We have been involved in issues whereby a patient has been admitted in the hospital and the treatment has been denied because there is no deposit paid to the hospital. We have notorious hospitals, especially in the Meru region, which are held by the churches and which are owned by private individuals. Mr. Speaker, in those hospitals, even if you have a serious accident or even a snake bite, as my colleague has just said there, and you happen to be taken to those hospitals and you are meant to be admitted, first you must pay some deposit of hundreds of thousands of shillings. And when you don't have them, it means that then your patient cannot be admitted and you have to go around calling for help from friends, from politicians, and the people of goodwill. As for that, Mr. Speaker, we have a problem whereby most of the elderly facilities, most of the institutions which offer elderly
or healthy medicines and so on. Mr. Speaker, they are owned by individuals and they are operated as business enterprises. And as for that, I don't know how this bill is going to be coined to an extent that is going to be binding to them, for it can be binding to the public sector, public hospitals, public health centers. But when it comes to the private hospitals, generally, private hospitals are created for business purposes. And those who operate those hospitals, if you look at it keenly, you see that their interest is not according to provide health facilities, is not according to them. It's just for purposes of making profit. And Mr. Speaker, that's why they insist on having deposits before treating somebody. As it is envisaged in this bill, it's a wonderful bill, especially where it comes to a place whereby one is to be fined a certain amount of money for failing to provide initial treatment or providing initial care which is required to save life. For the person who is being taken to the hospital or the person who is being sent to be sick, he is unconscious most of the time when they are taken to the hospitals. And maybe it's the only person who has access of the money which can be able to be paid as the initial deposit in the same institution. How is that person going to release that money so that he can be treated or he can be saved to be able to operate the account and get money to pay to this hospital? I call upon the mob of the bill to see to it, of which it should come in the form of amendment at the right time. We separate private institutions and public institutions. It's very necessary. But when it comes to retaining of the bodies, I've been in practice as a lawyer for more than 25 years, and I know very well that it is a declaration of the court that there is no valuation, there is no value in a dead body. Even if you see our people competing to buy a body, it does not value, it does not add value either to property, neither does that body become a property at any given moment. So what it is that to retain that body in the mortuary so that you can be paid whatever the treatment cost which was incurred by the time that person was in the hospital. Sometimes you wonder what value does it hand to the hospital? But the question is, why not to use a collateral? Why not to use a collateral so that at least it can operate as a shock absorber or something which one can hold, maybe a title deed, a login book without complications, provided that it is pinned to the family of the deceased, and then that collateral can come to be redeemed their own later when the required amount is paid in the hospital. But further still, Mr. Speaker, it then brings complications of the people who have operated or who have litigated on cases of hospitals negligence. For sometimes an hospital becomes negligent, it treats somebody in a bad way, or it operates on somebody and out of the negligence of the doctor. Like a doctor whom we were told that he was operating on a lady, cesarean birth, and he remembered that he had left friends in the bar. He left the patient on the operating table, went to finish the task he was taking, and by the time he came back to the theater, he found that the lady was dead, and the child who was meant to be born was dead. That patient was retained in the hospital because the hospital wanted to be paid their fees. Yet it was the hospital which was negligent. So there is a lot which there are intricate issues which are meant to be addressed in this the bill, especially when it comes to the retaining of the bodies, because if it happens that it's the hospital which was negligent and it caused the death of a patient, yet the hospital will retain that body until you pay, then it costs a lot to be considered. For at the end of the day, this hospital, unless it is taken to the court through a legal procedure to compensate the family, is going to be a beneficiary of the crime which it has committed by having a doctor who is negligent, having the patient die, and then at the end of the day, being paid for the crime which it has committed. And you know how long it takes in the court corridors
to have a compensation of a patient who has been admitted, taking into account that the witnesses are going to be other doctors. So, Mr. Speaker, I support this bill to an extent that on the principle that there is no value in the dead body, even if it's kept in the hospital. Our people are to be informed that even if a body is buried in the hospital, if the hospital refuses to release it, there is no value in the same. I therefore support the bill. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Before you sit down, I've heard this a lot, and we're coming to the end of this discussion.
Yes, Speaker.
I've heard these things as sat here, that there's no value in a dead body.
Yes.
So why are we struggling to get them buried? Because there's cultural value.
Speaker, it's the law.
Order.
It's the law which has been declared by the High Court and the Court of Appeal.
Order.
It's only the Supreme Court which I have not heard it clearing the same.
Order.
But
order. I'm just asking this. I'm not finished. So why are we struggling to get these bodies buried? Because as a people, as Africans, culturally we believe that we should bury our dead. Right? And I've not heard anybody talk about it.
Yes, Speaker.
The families are struggling so that they can have cultural closure. And I think most hospitals, most doctors miss this. The courts may have said what they said, which is true, that in terms of holding the body doesn't add value. But for families who are bereaved, culturally, and this has to be insisted upon, culturally, we want to bury our dead in a decent manner. And that's why people, last weekend I saw a family in Nyeri burying a log.
Yes.
Because one of their own disappeared in Afghanistan, can't be traced. There's cultural value in doing burials. And I think this is what is missing all through. I think I've had almost 30, 40 submissions. There is cultural value in us burying our bodies as Africans. Honorable Kim, I think you are finished.
Speaker, no, I have not finished. When you have addressed it in that form, may I put it in the legal circles when it comes to the ingredient of the word value. Value is whereby it can be valued in form of either material or monetary term. But Speaker, this one is just moral. It's a moral obligation to say that you have buried the body. It's not of any material, neither of any form of material or monetary value. It is none. Because, Speaker, you find that families are struggling to bury the body so that they can claim inheritance to say that we are the one who buried our father and we are entitled to a better inheritance or all the inheritance. And that should not be the case at all.
Thank you.
That's what, Mr. Speaker.
Certainly, people don't bury because they want to get inheritance. Certainly not. Certainly not. People bury, people go out of their way to borrow millions of shillings because they want to respect their dead. It's as simple as that. The Honorable Mary Omasa, you'll have 4 minutes. And let me just finish. I'll add you one that I'm going to take. Then after that, the member for Parliament for Kirinyaga will reply. And during her reply, she may, give a minute or two to the Honorable Nyakundi and the Honorable Ikiara, who has sat all through this afternoon and didn't only put her card 4 minutes ago. The Honorable Omasa, go ahead.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for the opportunity. I think from the onset, I want to congratulate my sister, Honorable Njeri Maina, for this very well-thought bill that is before us. Honorable Speaker, this bill seeks to give constitutional teeth, legislative teeth to the Constitution, the right to emergency health care, and also to safeguard the dignity of the dead, as provided for in Article 43.2 for the right to emergency and 28 for the dignity, safeguarding the dignity. Honorable Speaker, from the onset, I want to say that, to echo what other leaders have already said here, that everyone has a right to emergency medical care, regardless of their financial status. And therefore, any delayed attention or medical care to any Kenyan can lead to severe medical condition. Having said that, Honorable Speaker, I have seen women die while giving birth, giving life. are resulting from delayed attention. And some of them give birth to children that some children may survive, but mental conditions. And therefore that begs the question. Sometimes I wonder, what happened to the ethical and medical obligation by medical practitioners? Because healthcare providers are bound by ethical principles to give emergency attention to all patients, regardless of their financial status. So the mandatory requirement for deposit should never deter them or bar them from giving attention to any patient that goes to these hospitals. Because this delayed medical attention, Honorable Speaker, has far-reaching implications, has severe public health implications. For example, if it is an infectious disease, like COVID, that we experienced 2020, 2021, immediate attention would have led to prevention. Can prevent this severe spread of infectious disease. It may even reduce the cost of treatment or effectiveness of the treatment, as